Gentlemen, we're back again. With another show here on Dodgy Git. This is Dodgy Git Show. We got a feed coming up here, live from London. I'll let you tune in. I'm just trying to keep up with who's doing what and where. Yeah, apparently Julian ain't in court, and we're just gonna try and gather some information best we can. It might be a lot of noise here, so I'll let you tune in live and. We thank the people over there at Subject Access. Yeah, thanks very much. There's 168 people over there watching, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able to listen in and see what the crowd's doing. Might want to go over there, join their chat room. Might want to join my chat room. We've got a chat box open here. Lot of this then, I suppose. Yeah, free Julian Assange. Don't forget, everybody, like and subscribe if you like Dodgy Git Show. Covering all kinds of controversial topics. They do a bit of helicopter video, hey? Is there any drone footage of this? There's a load of people stood around screaming and shouting about the protest. You reckon? Racket, isn't it, eh? What do you reckon about the whole thing? Hey, do you reckon it's worth going there screaming and shouting? Oh dear me. Oh dear me. Do you reckon it's worth going there screaming and shouting? Look at this dude, he's got his phone out, look. He's just recording the whole goings on. There's loads of people over there in the chat. You wanna go and chat over there? We'll just cover what we can. He looks interested. Yeah, doesn't he? Eh? Massive input being. Yeah, that was well worth going there and standing your ground. Yeah. Wonder what she's talking about, that bloke about. Yeah, I see. You wave pictures around, that'll help. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to help a lot. You reckon it's going to help a lot?
A little while. Take a break, go warm up.
Yeah, see, this feed's had enough. They're all pissed off, look. They're all like, what the fuck are we actually doing? Yeah? They finally got a grip of themselves, right? There you go, he's fucked off, right? Right, hang on. Let me bin that. Let me bin that before we get some other shit going on. I'll bring myself back in the room. Yeah, something like that. Oh, no. Woo, there we go. Something like that. There we go. Let's try and find you another fucking feed for it, eh? It does seem like it's, you know what fucking YouTube's like, innit, eh? Gives you everything but what you want, eh? That's why Dodgy Git Show's fucking hidden there in the fucking backs of the realms, innit, eh? Let's have a look if we can find you another one. Oh, we were trying to use this one earlier, weren't we? Oh, we got another little interview going on here. I'll try and hang on, let me move into studio mode. I need to move into studio mode to be able to capture my window for you and not totally fuck it up, sort of thing. It takes some power actually to run all this shit. It doesn't half suck your fucking computer dry. Let me just align this for you. This is coming at you from where's this fucking. Oh, let's get it at a reasonable size so you can actually see what the fuck's going on. something like that, and then where have I got to put him? So I'm just moving a feed around a bit for you, and then I'll be able to. Right, hang on. I want to lock that one. Unlock me. I'll shrink me back down up here in the corner again. Where shall I go? Where shall I go? I'll go there. Transition you over. There you go. Thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. We'll listen to this geezer. Yeah. Let's see, it takes me traction engine a bit to get
to
there.
the left, which is something that happens on a daily basis, is directly as a consequence of people listening to my music. And I'm not just trying to toot my horn. This happens to musicians all over the place, you know, and it is part of the phenomenon of music that you can actually break through the walls that we set up in our brains to prevent us from really taking in certain forms of, you know, information or ideas. You know, music
He's
can
very
break through
right.
that, you know.
He's right. He's not wrong at all.
And you know, it just has to be. It has to have a receptive audience. But that can just be somebody paying attention for a few minutes. They just have to get exposed. You know, I mean, I may be just a bit idealistic. I don't think that if we, you know, got LSD in Washington D.C.'s water supply, that all the politicians would, like, you know,
Be hell of a day, wouldn't it? Hey,
you know,
hell of a day.
pacifists and something.
Hello, Mr. Councillor. Yeah, why are you looking the window?
You know, music can have an impact. Of course, it's obviously set up to prevent anybody from having a, you know, revelatory experience and changing, you know, what happened to Kennedy. I mean, you know, they got
Totally
other ways of dealing with that.
Can be a
high frequency in it, pal. Hey, high
David,
frequency.
thank you for being a superb flatmate.
Oh,
The
my
music
pleasure.
is terrific.
No, he's a
and I'll
flatmate,
see you
isn't
back
he?
at the flat
See you
tonight.
back.
To celebrate the work and freedom of Julian Assange. We should be having to be here to protest against his incarceration. We shouldn't be having to be here today.
Welcome back to the Assange extradition hearing. We're outside the Royal
There
Court
we
of
go.
Justice here in London.
Oh,
With
good,
me
right.
is Kristin Hrafson, the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks. He's
Go on,
been
mate.
in court this morning, and he's going to tell you what the latest developments are.
Yeah, good. This is what I was sort of trying to get hold of.
Well, I was in the beginning in the court this morning, but I was not allowed to go into the main courtroom, so I was being allocated a seat in the annex room, which was supposed to have a live feed, audio and video feed from the main courtroom. But all the journalists there and me could not hear anything. The quality of the audio was so bad that nobody could make out anything. There was huge complaints. Some of the journalists left. They seem simply not to be able to handle this situation.
Is that
As
why
we
my
learned, of
computer
course, this
crashed,
morning,
eh?
Julian Assange, for health reasons, was not able
It's
to attend
electricity,
this
right?
proceeding.
Electricity.
And if he is allowed some access to video link to these proceedings that are so important for him and his future, where the question of life and death is at stake, he probably has to rely on the same video and audio link that people were not able to get anything from this morning.
There
So
we go.
in short, it's an absolute travesty. But I could see through video that Ed Fitzgerald started out sort of outlining the main arguments of the case and why Julian Assange should not be extradited. And the arguments are so solid that each and every point should suffice to cross this extradition. We can go into each and every one if you want, but this is the beginning. And when you observe how the court is handling this, just from the perspective of management, if that reflects the concept of the seriousness of the issue, I am not too hopeful. Bear in mind, they put this case in one of the smallest courtroom in this huge building. A pivotal case of our time. if that reflects how they view this hearing, I am not very optimistic.
This is not something new, Christian. The technical issues and lack of access for journalists has been going on for a while.
Every step of the way, in all the proceedings we've had, there has been this obstacle. There's an obstacle for family to get in, for interested parties. I would assume that it's recognized that WikiLeaks is an interested party in this case, and I'm representing the organization. I've had a hard time getting in. I've been denied access. I've had to fight access. I was originally denied access here on Thursday. I protested on Friday, and they changed their position. Yes, all throughout the entire proceedings, when in this case against Julian, the courts have tried as much as possible to obstruct, and media has had huge difficulty getting any access to these proceedings, and so it's very hard to actually call this open justice. And bear in mind that observers that have monitored the entire proceedings, for example, Rebecca Vincent from Reporters Without Borders, who have been having to line up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to be able to get access as NGO observers in the most important case where the future of the media is decided. She has said that in all her previous cases and Reporters Without Borders cases where they have sent observers, where journalists are on trial in countries like Turkey and other countries, they have never experienced anything similar like in the British courts. And that speaks a volume about the situation here. People are not getting access through video link outside England and Wales, and I'm talking about journalists. A representative of Amnesty International was with me and trying to get a seat in the court. I don't think there was a success. Foreign and local MPs have been trying to get access because...
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring you up to speed with this live button here. There you go, live with zoom, zoom, zoom. I'll let you tune in and listen to what they got to say. I'm just going to pop off for a sec, and I'll come join you again in a minute, okay? Again, yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Thanks for joining the show and checking out my other shorts and on my other live feed shows. Don't forget to go over there to StellaAssange.com or at Stella Assange, or Twitter, fucking all the tweets and the X's and the fucking Y's and the ABC Club. Yeah, Defense Assange, or Defend Assange down there as well at the bottom on the right. Yeah, do what you can, support what you can, and I'll be back in 5. Thanks very much, everybody. It's alright, we'll come back in a sec. It'll sort itself out in a second, people, don't you worry. She literally, she ain't got a mic plugged in. Yeah, right, they got a mic problem. Hang on. Let me just check.
Said he didn't.
Yeah, it's not
President for his own
sound. Yeah. They got a problem with sound there. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll be back in a sec. Do you reckon they'll figure that out? Do you reckon they're gonna figure that out? Mic check, breaker, 1 2 1 2, mate. You're fucking up your feed. Yeah. Oh god, how long do you reckon they'll be there? Do you reckon they'll be there for half an hour before anybody fucking notices? Yeah. Just as I want to fucking go and do something, see? What am I gonna do with it? Eh? What the fuck are you gonna do with it? Or is it YouTube fucking with me again? Eh? YouTube fucking with me again. I'm really not sure if they figured out if they've got sound or not. It's definitely not a problem my end, or it's that little microphone she's got in her hand, but somebody needs to tell her, don't they? Eh? Oh no. Oh, she might pass over to somebody else in a sec, will she? Figure out her entire feed has been totally fucking wasted and didn't get any points. See these two here at the back? Wonder what they're discussing. Right, will we get our feedback? No, your microphone's gone, mate. I'm not going to hear you trumpeting. Why are we not going to hear you trumpeting, eh? Well, right, has he blown up his microphone or what? What's going on with the chat? Let's go back, make sure the sound's okay. Yeah, see? He's still playing his fucking trumpet. Jesus, wet fella. Okay, let's try something else. Alright, no, let's bring that up. Let's bring that up. Oh my god, it's Corbyn, look. And mate, you've got a problem here. Does anyone else not have audio? Right, hang on. I've sent them a message.
US Constitution. Why are you prosecuting somebody under the Espionage Act, previously used by Richard Nixon against Daniel Ellsberg? Why are you prosecuting somebody that's told the truth about the excesses, not just of the US military?
Yeah, it's pure communication. I literally put in the chat room to Assange defence. Somebody else put, does anyone else not have audio? Yeah, it looks like a fucking Corbyn fucking picture as well, so he obviously needs whacking in the head. I just put nil sound dudes, and then it come back on straight away, and I put thumb up sort of thing.
Yes,
Corbyn,
crime, the
he's a
unforgivable
penis,
crime
isn't he? If
of
there
journalism.
was one.
Jeremy,
I was brought up
I was brought up in a barn. I didn't know where to poo. Yeah, he's a penis.
well, let's hope the punishment of Julian ceases and that he walks free with
Can
Stella
I
and
give you
Maxim
one
Gabriel.
other message?
Please.
US politicians. I was over in Washington with the delegation supporting Julian, and we
Not too calm for my liking. Yeah, he'd antagonise you just for the sake of it, to feel like he's the bigger man, so he can walk off and grin to his inner being.
I did some media over there. But I say to the
Have you got any
US
daughters?
liberal politicians,
Anyway, back in the tick,
get off
folks.
the fence, get a life, and support Julian Assange. Are you going to stand by and watch him go down under the Espionage Act, or are you going to speak up?
From your lips to God's ears.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Brian Vickery.
Hi, Brian. Nice to meet you. So, huge turnout here today. How is it that you've come down, and why do you think it's so important to come down for Julian Assange?
Well, I've been following the case for 5 years since he was dragged over the embassy. And for an English person, that was a real shock, because we sort of believe that we don't believe we do that sort of thing. Maybe I was naive, but it was a shock. And basically, I started getting involved in the campaign since then. I live in Dorset, where the home of the Tow Paddle martyrs.
I don't
You don't know resonates with Australians. Basically, in the middle of the 19th century, a group of farm labourers fought for the right to form a union, and they were deported to Australia. And there was a campaign launched. Basically, it was a frightened government using the corrupt judiciary to tried to suppress the right to assemble. And a campaign was launched, and they were eventually sent home, and we obviously won the campaign. I see a lot of parallels with Julian Assange, because we have basically frightened governments that are concerned that the citizens actually get to know what's going on in their name. And again, the judicial process is being corrupted, basically to keep Julian in jail and keep people uninformed. I mean, a lot of people, increasingly people are becoming aware of the facts behind Julian Assange, but the media has been terrible in the UK. I don't know about Australia.
Same. It's been non-existent.
The thing is, more and more people. I'm a boomer, and boomers tend to still watch the BBC, read the Guardian. But even people of my generation are starting to realise that things have been hidden from us, and they're starting to understand what this case means, I believe.
I believe that too. After 14 years of arbitrary detention, it seems just mind-bending how the judiciary system and the politicians have got away with that, keeping an Australian truth teller, in some form of arbitrary detention.
One step, brother, just for a bit of information.
I mean, we mustn't become dejected. I mean, I've said this before.
New Zealand, and set up a sheep farm because he was fucking sick and tired of the fucking politics in this country to do with farming. He sold the fucking lot.
And if you travelled around South Africa, like, people were proud to show that they had handguns in their glove department, and it seemed like there's no hope for a peaceful settlement. It felt like there'd be a revolution. Well, within 10 years, the nationalist government was having to negotiate with Nelson Mandela and the ANC. So we shouldn't lose hope that I mean, as long as we sort of stand up and say no, we're not going to accept this.
And I think that's represented here well, that people are standing up, and they're coming down in their droves to support Julian Assange and his family. It was so lovely to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you would play us something on your beautiful Trump head.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is from my Australian friends and family.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
The Julian Assange. Like in it. Well,
I have no short term memory.
That's
fine. So did my father.
Line up the next one.
All right, Charles.
Chris, right?
Charles and Chris.
Okay. Charles, you've come all the way from Australia here. Tell us why you're here. Now, you live here now.
Yes.
But why are you standing in support of Julian Assange?
Because I think Julian's case is extremely important. It sets a precedent for the entire world.
That's right,
and I don't think there's enough Australian advocacy for Assange. Most Australians, especially people my age, are not even aware of his situation. There's too many other movements they're involved with, and I think this is the only thing that matters in the grand scheme of things.
Without a free press, we have nothing. Without an informed and educated electorate, democracy can't survive.
That's true, and without freedom from the US's tendrils, none of us are free. I mean, so Julian can be arrested for doing the same thing the New York Times, Wall Street Journal have done, publishing anonymous source leaked documents. If he, as an Australian citizen, can't be safe from what, a false crime, something that's not even true, then how can any of us be safe?
If you could say anything to the American people who, like you say, the Australians, are either unaware or uncaring, what would you say to the people of my country to wake them up?
Well, I would say there's many. I mean, you have a larger population. There's many that need waking up, but I actually think there's probably more American support for Assange than there is Australian support. A lot of the journalists I see advocating for Julian are from the US. I mean, a lot of people like the Grey Zone, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, even Jimmy Dore as well. These people are all ardent supporters of Assange. Even though President Trump fell very short at the end of his term when he could have released Assange, he early on was an advocate for Assange.
Assange.
Whether that was for partisan reasons or not,
yes,
he was a supporter. I mean, I think Albanese, our current Prime Minister, has said a few short words in Assange, but I think that's only just for optics. That's just to his base. That's just a little homage. He's not going to show any real resistance. So, look, maybe Americans need to wake up, but there's also enough cases of American citizens themselves being prosecuted for these same sort of things. I mean, Ed Snowden, look at him.
Yes.
It's the Americans can wake up, and I hope they do, but I think it's...
I would hope that our Congress behaves in the same way that your Parliament did, where 70 people who agree about nothing came together to call for the reason, as was done here in Britain.
That's right.
In the States, we're having even the most progressive people refusing, with few exceptions, to speak out. So God bless the parliamentarians of Australia, and thank you very, very much.
Thanks, mate.
So the Obama administration did not
we're on to this again.
Seek the extradition of Julian.
Through this again. You want to listen to this bit? Why not?
Their lawyers said, well, if we extradite and charge Julian with espionage, we have to charge the New York Times, which in partnership with WikiLeaks published the Iraqi war logs. We'll have to charge the New York Times with espionage. That was very clear cut. I think what changed was Vault 7. With the publication of the documents from Vault 7, which were leaked, and the poor guy was just sentenced for some draconian sentence. I can't remember, 40 years or how long it was. But anyway, the CIA essentially said, we want him. He's going to pay for this. And that threw in a whole new factor. So that you saw the Trump administration charge Julian with espionage. Now, up until then, Obama was very aggressive about using the Espionage Act, but he used it against people who leaked to the press, so-called whistleblowers, including imprisoning figures like John Kiriakou and others. So, but he didn't use it against journalists. And Trump crossed the Rubicon in the sense that, and I think he pressured by the CIA, he turned the Espionage Act on journalists. I think, by the way, right after 1917, I mean, the Espionage Act is a 1917 act passed by Woodrow Wilson, and it was a particular moment in American history when you had powerful socialist movements, Eugene V. Debs' Socialist Party, but also militant labor unions like the Wobblies and the old CIO, etc., which had really begun to pressure the capitalist class on the eve of World War I. And so under the rubric of passing, like the British Foreign Secrets Act, passing information to the enemy, they passed the Espionage Act and the Sedition Act. But if you actually look at it, it was used primarily against dissidents. They shut down, you had Appeal to Reason, which was, I think, had the third or fourth highest circulation of a socialist newspaper in the country. You had the Masses. And so those two acts were not used very much, hardly at all, against espionage. And I think there may have been journalists who came under it. I mean, I hear sometimes that Julian is the first journalist to be charged on the espionage. Certainly not many have been charged. They tried to use it against Daniel Ellsberg, of course. But yes, it does push us into uncharted territory where somebody, and Julian, there's no way around it. I mean, Julian did not obtain those documents. He obtained the documents, but he obtained them from a source, the way we all do. I mean, he functioned in the classical manner,
the broken grain of rice
journalists function. And the Obama administration had to confront that reality.
Back in the tick, folks.
With Vault 7, the CIA made a very aggressive case that this damaged national security, and he had to pay. And that's, I think, of course, that's when the extradition request came in, and that's when we saw, but it's not been changed under a Democratic administration. Biden is completely behind the extradition. So that's what changed it. I think I've left the New York Times, so I can't speak today to the inner workings of the Times, but, having spent a long time there, I think they realized the consequences, which is why they published that letter. If you set that legal precedent, then it's deadly. I mean, it's gonna. And I should say, by the way,
one rule for them and one rule for everybody else, right? In the farmyard, some more important than others, right?
Oh, I lost my thought. Just a second. Yeah, so you set the precedent, then you essentially make it impossible. You've already targeted the people who provide the information, the whistleblowers within the system of power. And that's how you do investigative journalism. I mean, we couldn't function without these people who are very courageous and have a conscience and want the public to know. So they're targeted. And, they're with wholesale surveillance, they can't even talk to her. I still have friends at the Times who do this kind of work. And they said, they don't even want to read a press release over the phone. They know that if they provide any information that is classified or that the government doesn't want provided, then they're immediately discovered. And so what we've seen is really largely the death of traditional investigative journalism as in the old model, the way I did it. And the only way left is for hackers, people who will hack into a system. Jeremy Hammond, for instance, hacked into the security firm Stratfor and provided emails,
there ain't much in this old thing,
which were quite revealing, including I sued Obama in 2012 over Section 1021 of the National Defense Authorization Act. This was put into the act at midnight in 2011, and nobody thought we'd notice. But it overturned the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the U.S. military from acting as a domestic police force. It allows the executive branch to deploy the military with policing powers in seizing people. Extraordinary rendition on the streets of American cities. And we sued him in the Southern District Court in New York, and surprisingly we won, which really freaked Obama out.
That scared the
because
shit
it was
out
such
of
a
him,
black and white violation of U.S. law. And so the Obama administration didn't know what to do, and they obviously appealed it and asked the judge to lift the temporary injunction. And I think the reason they panicked is because probably they were holding dual national U.S. Afghan citizens in Bagram and places like that. And they would have been in violation of the law if they were still being held. And so, to her credit, Catherine Forrest, the judge, refused. They went next up to the appellate court, which oversees the federal court, the Southern District, and they did issue the injunction, but they waited months and months to rule because it was a really hard case for them to wiggle out of. And what they did is, I had also been a plaintiff in Clapper versus Amnesty International, where we had sued the director of national intelligence for surveillance of journalists. A case where government lawyers, this is before Snowden, got up and said, no, these journalists have, not only do they have no proof that they have been, that the government is monitoring their communications, but if the government was monitoring their communications, we would tell them.
Right? Stay tuned.
And so the Supreme Court bought it and threw the case out, and then immediately the appellate court in New York said Hedges doesn't have standing in Clapper versus Amnesty International. Therefore, Hedges doesn't have standing in Hedges versus Obama. So they throw it out by standing. it's a long story, but in that court case, where we won in the first court, we used the Hammond emails because he leaked emails between this private security firm and Homeland Security where they were trying to find ways by which dissidents,
Vanguard,
leftists,
Securitas,
people who
which don't
were
exist
exposing
anymore,
information
is it?
could be
Like
tied
Serco,
to terrorist groups,
all those
and then
groups,
charged
innit,
under
all these
anti-terrorism
housing
laws.
associations
So
with no
did
company name at the
some
bottom of their website.
website
They
in
got
the
no
Middle
number,
East ever
no
pick up
company's
something
house
I wrote
number.
or something? But
Yeah.
it was
Whole
clearly
thing's been busted wide open.
the orchestration was so transparent. So, and Hammond, I also sat through. I interviewed him in jail, and they were brutal to Hammond. I mean, he got a 10-year sentence, which is the most sense anybody's ever gotten, because the whole object, and this goes back to why they're going after Julian, is to really block any kind of investigation into the machinery of power. They have had a huge chilling effect by going after whistleblowers. That's why Snowden immediately fled the country. He knew they would find out instantly who leaked this material to Glenn Greenwald and The Intercept. And so there's a war on hackers. I mean, amazingly, Chelsea Manning was granted a pardon, but she served significant time in Leavenworth and was also a suicide risk. So, but yeah, that's what's happening. And coming out of that old traditional media, because of these measures, I can see how it's atrophied and how it's dying. And that's the goal. The goal is to crush it. And although I think the New York Times and the Guardian, all these papers reacted very, very late, and they were full partners in the character assassination of Julian, and that was driven by the fact that they don't really like Julian. And that's always the traditional press has always had this relationship with the alternative press. That goes back decades and decades. I mean, you can go all the way back to this great investigative journalist, Ida B. Wells, had a newspaper in Memphis, and she was there living there, a black woman, under Jim Crow, and she investigated all the lynchings. And the vast majority of black men who were being lynched were not actually in any way implicated in, the classic sort of trope of rape, but they were business people, doctors. They were people who were cutting into the economic domination of the white community. And her paper was eventually burned down, and she had to flee. So that goes. But at the same time, if you read the New York Times, they were buying that line of rape. I mean, there's always been that tension. I have my stuff published. I have it on Substack, but I allow Bob Scheer on ScheerPost to run it. And Bob was the editor of Ramparts magazine in the 1960s. Ramparts magazine exposed COINTELPRO, which was the FBI spying on activists and dissidents, and he printed the iconic picture of that little girl in Vietnam naked running down the road being burned by napalm. That was all Ramparts. And so traditionally, the press
image?
that is not bound by commercial restraints
Horrible.
or rogue, let's call them investigative journalists like Cy Hirsch, who did Me Alive, they have pressured the legacy media to do their job. And that's what Julian did. He pressured by releasing this. This is the greatest release of information since the Pentagon Papers, and I would argue it's even more important than the Pentagon Papers. And so if the legacy media was to retain any kind of credibility, they'd have to publish it. But and that's exactly what happened at the Guardian, at the New York Times. Almost as soon as they published it, they turned viciously against Julian. And so they were full partners because Julian was very popular, and the CIA has a lot of resources and it knows how to do it in terms of black propaganda. They had to really sever. They had to, and they did the same thing, by the way, to Ralph Nader. close friends with Ralph and was a speechwriter. They did the same thing with Ralph. They had to destroy the public's perception of him, and the media was a full partner in that. And not only, and they weren't a full partner because they were naive. They were a full partner because they too were and are hostile. All that said, the publications that put out that joint letter saying that the extradition charges against Julian should be dropped, and I think it was because their lawyers told them, you better stand up against this because you're next, because they are next, and that's the goal.
Everybody there in the crowd, and don't forget loads of subscribers to the Get Show, got loads of live shows about loads of different topics, and yeah, thanks to the people there for supporting us.
Thank you so much for giving us a minute of your time. I know you're super busy, as you can see, there's a lot going on here today. I wanted to ask you, it's a stupid question, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Why are you here today?
Sure. So, for me, Julian's case is so important at so many different levels. I've investigated, researched, written about, made films about the global arms trade for over 22 years now. And our mainstream media used to do a little bit about it, but haven't done anything meaningful about it for years. And Julian has always been the key truth teller when it comes to the global trade in weapons, its consequences for innocent people around the world, its consequences for our own democracies, for the rule of law, for corruption, etc., etc. And, the WikiLeaks model of publishing really effectively showed up the mainstream media for what it is. So I think that's the primary reason. But the other reason that I'm here is this is a case against journalism. And, what Julian is suffering as an individual, he's doing on behalf of all of us. And so I think it's incredibly important that we show solidarity with him, that we point out to people that not only is journalism not a crime, but speaking the truth is actually a responsibility. And Julian symbolizes that more than anybody I can probably think of or that I know. So for all of those reasons, I feel, very honored to be here, just to add my voice to so many extraordinary people from around the world who've come to show their solidarity and support for him. But I think what is happening here today is also reflective of the state of the world and the state of our governments.
Hear me now.
Because the reason that Julian is sitting inside that court, the reason that he's been sitting in a high security jail for all of these years is because if he wasn't, it's our politicians who would be. Because he reveals the corrupt truth about the way in which they use conflict in Gaza, in Yemen, to effectively line their own pockets. Be it contributions to their political parties, be it to individual politicians. We've seen Tony Blair make hundreds of millions of pounds personally, directly out of the decision to invade Iraq, directly out of his association with British and American arms companies. And this is everything that Julian's life's work has revealed and exposed. So by having him in high security jail, by having him in court, by extraditing him to the United States of America, what they are effectively doing is trying to keep themselves out of the jails that they belong in.
There you go.
And then finally, if I can also just say, as a South African, I had the enormous privilege of serving under Nelson Mandela. And I know that Stella has connections to South Africa. And she reminds me of the very best of South Africa in the sense of during the struggle for liberation from apartheid, we used to say, you strike the women, you strike the rock. Because women have always been the most resilient in our struggle. And Stella, to me, encapsulates so much of that. The courage and the fortitude and the perseverance that she has shown over these terrible, terrible years to raise those two incredible young boys on her own as she's been forced to do, to continue to campaign around the world in the way that she has, reminds me so much of the legends of our political struggle in South Africa. And so I think it's important also, given the role that South Africa has played recently in relation to Gaza and in relation to the International Court of Justice, to say here today that South Africa is calling out Israel. It's calling out a genocide in Gaza. And we would know even more about that genocide if Julian was free and doing the work that he has done his whole life. And I think there are many in South Africa as a consequence who hold both Stella and Julian in extraordinarily high esteem, who believe that South Africa is in solidarity with Julian at this awful moment. And really, you know, Nelson Mandela, my former boss, spoke about the reality when he came out of jail after 27 years in an apartheid jail. He said, our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people. I think today we need to say that our freedom is incomplete without Julian's freedom, because we cannot live in functioning democracies. We cannot hold our politicians accountable. We cannot eradicate corruption that is largely driven by conflict around the world, because the arms trade accounts for 40% of all corruption in world trade, without acknowledging the work that WikiLeaks has done in making us all aware of how our political systems thrive on warfare and conflict, thrive on the suffering of millions. You know, we have a situation of permanent austerity in the Western world, but that's because we're spending over $2.2 trillion a year on conflict and warfare. So for all of those reasons, Julian must be free. And for every single day that he is not, it's an indictment on our governments, on our politicians, and on the state of the world today.
Beautiful. Thank you
nice
so much.
one, pal.
Nice
one. Well said, well educated, and eloquently
He's a man
put, mate.
who has a lot to say.
And then we got the other end of the stick.
To remain silent. He's a man of peace, surrounded by violence. He's a man of justice, no matter what the cost is. He's a man of truth, smeared by lies.
We hear ya.
A wild colonial boy named Julian Assange,
Hear me now.
working at the rebel library of Alexandria, preserved the historic record from the burning fire of the emperor. He stood up to the biggest bully and set an example for the rest of man. With the brave whistleblowers, they tried to free civilization through the means of mass communication. But the Praetorian Metropolitan Thought Police harassed the award-winning journalist, using the public's purse on a covert op out of public sight, throwing pebbles at the Ecuadorian embassy's window in the middle of the night, breaking the Vienna Convention. To kidnap or to kill, that was the CIA's question. 24 hours of surveillance, 7 days a week. Julian couldn't even get healthcare when he was feeling sick, because UK bureaucrats wouldn't lend the Shining Knight a safe passage bridge. In broad daylight, she Elizabeth's henchmen kidnapped the political asylum. A wild colonial boy named Julian Assange has been suffering in profound isolation. It's a human rights violation. Free Julian Assange.
Nice one, pal.
Has just gone into the courthouse. There's a massive crowd here in London, and so well there should be. It's a very, very serious trial. We really do need to get Julian Assange out of Belmarsh prison and the charges against him dropped. As an Australian, I am still relatively appalled by the lack of support and the lack of robust action that has been taken by the Australian government. It's time that we stick up for our own citizens. We cannot let Julian Assange be extradited to the US for 175 years for exposing truthful US war crimes. It's time for Anthony Albanese and Penny Wong to actually get on the phone and publicly denounce what's happening and publicly use the leverage that we have at AUKUS and say to the US, we want them to drop the charges right now.
Yeah,
Free Julian Assange.
There's no opaque clarity, is there? Eh? Well, would you rate it, ladies and gentlemen? You tell them and they don't want to know, innit? That's what it is. It's you tell them and they don't want to fucking know these people. They're in denial of fucking... Yeah. So I'm glad everybody's there fucking kicking up this fuss. I don't know why somebody's got a fucking... What's that? Is that an Italian flag? There he is. Is that him in there, is it? There he is. Oh no, dude's put the fucking board in the way. Is that him? Is that? No, not him. No. Is that his lawyer? Yeah, you can see all that, mate. Oh, you can see, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me. Yeah, it'll just be part of the fucking cause, isn't it, eh? Yeah, you pick your fucking sides. Yeah, we don't have to agree on fucking everything, but on this point we do. Yeah, we got the public, we're governed. I hope the UK judges rule in favour of Julian Assange next week, and regardless, I will continue to work for his freedom here in the US, which hashtag says blah 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 no. So go and click on all them things there, look, throw it out down here, yeah, go click on all that lot, clickety click, click, use your thumbs, do it with your left thumb if you like, yeah, there you go. Even a self-respecting poodle objects to the way we are currently behaving towards the USA. The Americans would laugh in our faces if we tried to seize a man who had broken no law. They, like they are with Julian Assange, blah 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 blah. I can't see what is served by keeping Julian Assange incarcerated. But yeah, that's the whole fucking point, isn't it, eh? Enough is enough. Damn right, my boat. There we go. Yeah? Can't next slide, I want something else to read out. I'm glad no one's got a fucking horn. Worst thing is a fucking siren, isn't it, eh? Fucking blue flashing lights in a siren. Talk about fucking disturbing the peace, isn't it, eh? Created fucking alarm and distress. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why they shout at you and tell you to go down. Hello, Tracy from Worcester.
Assange and his family since I was asked to be a surety on his bail 13 years ago.
All right.
He is a hero.
Yay!
And yet, he spent the last 12 years in what the UN has described as arbitrary detention.
I mean, lived in a shithole.
Because he exposed US war crimes.
Yep, he did.
Human rights violations.
He did do
and
that.
Illegal surveillance.
Yeah.
That were printed in several major newspapers worldwide. Information that the public has the right to know.
Yeah, made newspapers loads of money, didn't
it? Extradite him to face a likely prison sentence of 175 years.
That's
in
really
one of
old.
America's notorious high-security prisons. To prevent his extradition to the US, he was granted asylum in 2012 by the Ecuadorian embassy in London, before being dragged out by British police in 2019 and sent to the high-security Belmarsh prison in London, where his solitary confinement has been described by the UN rapporteur as torture. His persecution by a vindictive US government and a cowardly and co-opted UK justice system is intended not only to keep him silent in the future, but to warn other journalists and publishers to never again speak truth to power. Not one of Julian's revelations have been proved to be false. And while the perpetrators of heinous crimes are free, the journalist and publisher Julian Assange is behind bars and fighting for his freedom. On the 20th and 21st of February, Julian's appeal against extradition to the US will be heard at the Royal Courts of Justice in London.
Dun, dun, dun.
This might be the last time we can stop the extradition and demand justice for Julian here in the UK.
So basically, if they get
Julian's
over that, he's
freedom
fucked.
Is our right to know. It's now
There you
or
go.
never.
There you
Free
go.
Julian, now.
Yeah, well done. Thank you very much, Tracy from Worcester. Yeah, thanks very much, Tracy from Worcester. Thanks to all these people who stood out there in the fucking freezing cold. I've got rid of the fucking heater on here. I'm fucking warming up this nice, thanks very much. Maybe not too cold. Thanks for making the effort. I make the effort from this end. Look at all them useless piggies stood around doing fuck all there. Look at that in their clown suits there. That most luminescent penis in the fucking whole circus, look, it's a fucking pig, look. Paint the piggies, paint the piggies, paint the pig, roll them in glitter, because they're made of you. Eh? And then fucking pig covered in shit rolled in glitter, there you go. Hello, love, what's going on?
I've come here today because Julian Assange is facing his final hearing in the extradition, whether he'll be extradited to the US, to be stuck in a hole in a Sam's penitentiary with there's no fair trial in the US. It's impossible. So he is due to be extradited it's a political case, which is illegal for them to extradite on political offenses. And they ought to have freed him years ago. It's been 4 years he's been in Belmarsh. But this is a joke of a case. It's not even a real case. It's political, and he told the truth about the wars. That's all he did, and for telling the truth, he's facing 175 years if the CIA renditions him.
They don't want to hear it,
and
that's all
these
right.
people are not good people. So
No, they're
no
fucking
one
warmongers, mate.
should be for this, because it ends journalism. It'll end journalism around the world. No one will want to be a journalist anymore after this. They'll be afraid of having the same thing done to them.
Or there'll be more of us. Yeah.
Tell us who you are.
Cheers,
and
lady.
Why is it you're here for Julian Assange?
Yeah, mate, cool.
My name is Jim. I'm a director of Unite the Union.
Hello,
in
mate.
the UK and Ireland.
Hello.
I'm here for two reasons. One is for Julian, and one is to expose the just sheer sham of the British judicial system.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace that
Yes, it is.
Julian doing his job as a journalist.
The judges have the evidence in front of them, and unless you actually point to it, they will not see it.
For over a decade.
Yeah, purposely. They'll purposely ignore it. Yeah, it's called neglect and what is it? Fucking negligence. Yeah, and they're complicit in it, all of them. If one of them spots something, they'll tell the other one to fucking not see it. Yeah, bent as fuck it is.
It only took us 47 years to get justice with the Shrewsbury Picket, so I've not got much confidence in the British judicial system. So I'm here for Julian and to expose the British judicial system. So
respect,
Julian
buddy. Well,
is in the
Jim.
dark here. Yeah, but I'd ask you, who else is in the dark here with him? Who stands with him? Who is in jeopardy with this case? I think people that believe in free speech. People that believe in the sovereignty of countries.
Yeah.
People who believe in truth against power.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, God bless you, Jim.
And your name is Vincent.
Cheers, Vince.
My name is Cheryl Sanchez, and I've been with the Julian Assange campaign since 2019.
Easy
and the
now,
reason
love.
I'm here today
What one?
is to show my support for Julian Assange, a man who has done no crime, an innocent guy who just tried to tell the truth. Telling the truth in the eyes of the UK and US government has become almost like terror.
There we go.
Julian Assange is not a criminal. He's been in Belmarsh as if he's a criminal. He's not. And the problem is today he's caught between two devils, Rishi Sunak and President Biden. between the Devils and the deep blue sea, which is the Atlantic. If he goes to USA, he will not get a free trial. The UK
Don't you love characters like this lady, eh? Full of soul, eh?
Like in the good old days, because Julian Assange
in the good old days.
Person on Grasha,
I go beat your ass out the door, blast.
Australia. The US,
you imagine their kids, mate, they wouldn't get away shit, would they?
A journalist
I told you, make your fucking bed.
Democracy for journalism. Because the UK is now a colony or an asset of the USA, and so it is no longer independent. And I fear for the life of Julian Assange and justice and democracy in this country.
Nice one, lady. Bless you, love. Bless you. Hey, heart and soul of it. See what we have. We've just passed an hour, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed yourself. What's this say? Free Assange. Yay. Hello, girls. Nice picture. Nice one. Yay. That's it. See, they've used their noggin. See, they figured out where the camera is. Nice one, girls. Hello. They'll pat you on the heads. Yeah. No, can I pick her up? There you go. Oh, no, I can't quite get her. Never mind. Them people's right, haven't they? Hey, you reckon them people's right? I reckon them people's right.
Julian could not attend because of health issues, which is of grave concerns. He has been suffering in the cell, and no wonder after all these years in this cold cell. I don't know the details of it, but I do worry about him. His health has been deteriorating through this almost 5 years of incarceration in Belmarsh prison, and the mental toll that it has on you to have the prospect of being shipped up to a complete isolation in America, of course, adds to the strain, and so I do worry about him, and I don't know the details because, but he is not well. I'm not too hopeful about the outcome here in his court, but I've been heartened by the fact that politically there's at least has been a wake up in Australia to fight for Julian. Bring him home, but more is needed, and I think the general public in Australia needs to make it clear, because I know that the general public wants Julian home, wants his boy home. So what can they do? They need to make it absolutely clear to the Albanese government that they need to do more, and bear in mind that Australia has leverage as a part of the AUKUS alliance, as a part of the most important strategic partner of America, by their own admission, in the region, not just in defense, but also in trade. So make a linkage, that's what you do in politics, and say, we cannot continue unless you free Julia. It will have an effect on our relation. So make them understand the gravity of it, and the gravitas which is behind Albanese's government. Vast majority of the general public wants.
Hello, Liam, Doyle, and right? Nikki. Thanks for joining me.
This is how it works. It's up to the people.
Yeah.
To put pressure on the government. Thank you for what you've done, but you need to do more and put your weight behind it. Put an equation on the table. That's how international diplomacy works. That's how it's being conducted. It is not outside the framework of it. If Albanese really cares about Julian's freedom, he should put down and demand, not ask, demand that Julian is free. And they drop the charge against him so he can bring Stella and the boys to Australia to walk free for the first time.
Let the fucking geezer retire with his kids, mate. He's done his fucking bit for fucking humanity, right? Hey
everybody, I'm Stephen Donziger. I'm a human rights lawyer in the United States of New York, and I'm really honored to speak to you today to urge the release of Julian Assange and the dropping of his extradition case. I know what persecution from the U.S. government is about. As a human rights lawyer, I represented indigenous peoples in Ecuador against Chevron. We won a big pollution judgment against the company, and then I got prosecuted by Chevron in U.S. courts and locked up for almost 3 years. I know what the U.S. government does when its interests are threatened in a serious way by serious people like Julian. People need to understand that the U.S. government is using Julian's case as a way to try to criminalize advocacy, as a way to try to punish truth tellers, as a way to try to intimidate people from taking on the structures of power that keep most people down. Julian needs to be let go. He needs to be able to return to his work as a journalist, as a publisher, as an activist, so the world can be a better place. The cruelty being visited upon Julian is unconscionable. And I again urge the Biden administration to drop the extradition case. Stop trying to detain Julian Assange and stop trying to use his case in other cases, including mine, to try to criminalize advocacy and try to criminalize activism and try to intimidate those who take on the structures of power that really hurt people around the world. Julian, we are with you. The world knows what is happening. We are coming to help you. We are here, and hopefully you will be free in short order. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Seth Stern, the Advocacy Director at the Freedom of the Press Foundation. We've been talking about Julian Assange's prosecution for quite some time. And whenever we do, it's inevitable someone's going to say, well, this has nothing to do with press freedom. Julian Assange isn't a journalist. Some might respond to that by arguing over whether he is one or not. And to us, that's just a distraction. It really makes no difference because he's being prosecuted for basically the dictionary definition of investigative journalism. Obtaining information from a source, Chelsea Manning, talking to Chelsea Manning over encrypted channels, publishing the information she gave him. There's no exception under the Espionage Act for journalists. Read it, you won't find one. Not a single one of the 17 Espionage Act charges that Assange is facing makes a distinction between journalists and non-journalists, so there's nothing in the law, if Assange is convicted, stopping future presidents from prosecuting journalists, whatever you call journalists, under the exact same theory. We would just be trusting future presidents to use good judgment and not cross that line, make a distinction between the Julian Assanges of the world and whoever they consider to be real journalists. Good luck with that. You'd have to be really naive to trust future presidents to exercise that kind of restraint, not to mention the problems with having presidents decide who is and isn't a journalist in the first place. For one, Donald Trump is on the campaign trail loudly proclaiming his desire to lock up journalists. Do you think that he wouldn't use an Assange conviction as a weapon to punish and censor the enemy of the people? That's what he calls the media. But this isn't just a Trump issue. About half the presidents since Nixon have seriously considered prosecuting journalists under the Espionage Act. There may be more. Those are just the ones we know about. Nixon impaneled a secret grand jury in hopes of indicting Neil Sheehan from the New York Times, as well as his wife, over the publication of the Pentagon Papers. You hear a lot about the Pentagon Papers, but it didn't stop there. The Ford administration had serious talks with the DOJ about indicting Seymour Hersh over his reporting. Reagan's administration at least twice thought about prosecuting journalists. His CIA director even met with the publisher of the Washington Post and threatened an Espionage Act prosecution. Alberto Gonzales, during the Bush administration, suggested prosecuting the New York Times under the Espionage Act, not just privately, but on ABC News. Now, none of them pulled the trigger. Why not? Well, probably because they knew that prosecuting a publisher of information under the Espionage Act would be unprecedented. It would draw public backlash. It would create political problems with them. Maybe it wouldn't hold up in court. But what if it wasn't unprecedented? Does anyone out there really think that not a single one of those presidents would have gone forward with prosecuting journalists if someone like Assange had come before them and had been prosecuted successfully?
Just done it.
Of course they would have. And if he's successfully prosecuted now, of course future presidents will. Even if somehow they don't, journalists will know that they can, and they'll conduct themselves accordingly. Some journalists might be brave enough to risk a long prison sentence to expose wrongdoing, but not everyone's going to be willing to be a hero, and we're going to lose really valuable journalism as a result. When you see newsrooms collapsing, even the threat of legal fees for journalists to defend themselves is enough to make them self-censor, let alone the threat of being convicted.
10 years.
People are entitled to their opinions.
No rush.
You know, that's fine.
Shock them.
We're not here to change anyone's mind about whether he's a real journalist or whether he's a good person. Think what you want to think. But if he comes first, a journalist you do like is going to come next. And another one, and another
one, and another one.
And that's why his prosecution poses nothing less than an existential threat to the freedom of the press.
My name is Philip. I've come here with a friend from Austria because it is a crucial day, it's crucial 2 days. What's been negotiated here is not only about our right to know, but also about our duty to know about the wrongdoings of governments, about the wrongdoings that are made in the name of our people. I think our governments they have a duty, or we the people have the right to know and the duty to know about what is being made in the name of us.
Yes.
With our taxes, we are entitled to know about the wars that are made in our names with our money, and so we can decide whether we agree upon that or not. And this is why this is so important here. And I'm very glad that there are so many people from all over Europe and all over the world that gather here today. Yeah, thanks a lot. All the best, solidarity.
Nice little pal, cheers. It's nice to meet one of them, eh? Yeah. They are banging stuff again. Here we now, here we go. What's he saying? I don't know why people shout through megaphones, do you? Why don't they just talk through a megaphone? I don't get that.
This is a
policy,
activist here in London called
Hello, mate.
Mad Dog. I've seen his
Mad Dog, mate. Alright, mate.
Just a mad bloke.
Oh, Mad Bloke.
Mad bloke. Mad bloke. Alright, mad bloke on dodgy kid. Mad bloke.
Thank you so
You're
much
crazy,
for all
mate.
the advocacy that you do for Julian Assange. Why do you think it's such an important issue?
Because the truth is the truth, and globally they're trying to corrupt it, and they're selling a false narrative, getting people to believe whatever it is they want them to believe. But the truth is very, very important. If you haven't got the truth, you don't know what to think, you don't know who to vote for, and they're making the truth a crime.
Yeah.
And as far as I can see, Julian was the only person telling the truth. He's never redacted anything. When we need the facts, because we don't get the facts from any other news out there, like the mainstream media and the newspapers. It's all the government's mouthpiece.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a fan of the truth.
Yes,
He's got WikiLeaks and Julian in the first place, and the fact that he tells the truth is why they're trying to kill him, basically.
That's right.
And they won't let him out, as far as I'm
They
concerned.
do. They'll try to shoot you with, what is it,
It's a crying
less
shame.
lethal weapon.
I'm embarrassed to be part of this planet, really, and part of this species that is acting like this. So
Well, we've got a massive representation of people here today.
Yeah, it's good today.
Yeah.
We come out twice weekly anyway. A smaller group comes out twice weekly, just to try and keep the public aware, because the mainstream media, they won't report anything.
Maybe you could tell us where you meet during the week for other people that might want to come down and connect with you guys.
On Wednesdays at 3 to 5, we're just across the road here at the Australian Embassy.
Yep.
On Saturdays we do 4 to 6 at Piccadilly. And then sometimes in the morning on Saturday, some of us go to prison to shout over the wall. So he knows people are still out here.
They're active enough then, aren't they?
It's so corrupt. I've got no faith in what goes on in here.
There you go. No faith, no trust left in it, innit? There you go, sir.
Just to keep Julian inside.
That's right. They fucked you up so much and fucking shown you by compounded trust building that they're fucking untrustworthy.
Case requires a political solution. Being Australian myself, I think that the Australian government's got a huge role to play in the freedom of Julian Assange, as does the UK. So what do you think the UK government really should
get
be
the fucking
doing?
feed I'll get and fucking feed it to the rest of the fucking world if I
Just
can.
doing what America wants them to do, because we are just America's extra little state, aren't we, over here?
We're talking, they're Australian. It's even worse.
Is it? Australia seems to be making more noises about getting Julian out now.
Well,
since the Labour government got in there.
Absolutely, and I'll give some credit to them for doing that, but we need to be more robust in our demands. We just signed
robust in the demands,
deal with the US, $360 billion, and we've got American bases peppered all over Australia. So we've got what we call leverage, but we're not using it wisely. So
there you go.
But I think it's just as much as the UK is corrupt as the US, to be honest, hand in glove.
Very much. I'm embarrassed to be English, honestly. I'm embarrassed to be an earthling, to be fair. But what our government could do is listen to its own laws and obey its own laws. If that was the case, Julian would be free.
Absolutely. Excellent.
And they're not doing that. They're deliberately not doing that. No, Judge Barrister, the Old Bailey, criminal decisions these people are making, and they get promoted and to the House of Lords and make dames and lords. It's an in club, and you can't. I don't know how you get past that.
Well, I think the people
maybe.
Yeah, the people are waking up, and we're going to demand a lot more from our government representatives. And we're doing a great job here today, and you do a great job.
There's already people at politicians' doors,
Thank you so much.
Imagine if that happened the other way around, it'd soon be a fuss fucking creative, wouldn't it?
Very much.
Yeah, nice one, fella. Cheers, love. Where we going next? Come on, live and direct there from London. Thanks to the folks on the camera feeds. Thanks to all those people over there that are doing their thing. Don't forget to get all the .coms around the top and the sides and the bottom of the tweets and the Facebook's pages and all the rest of it. Click, tweet it out, click, share. Yeah. Don't forget, if you're enjoying yourself here, don't forget we're going to do plenty of live shows and discuss loads of news topics. Loads of fucking shorts there to watch, so yeah. Don't forget to subscribe to the Digi Show. Click the like if you've enjoyed it. We are an hour and 17 minutes in. Right.
There's only one decision. US, UK.
What?
And our foreign minister. As you know,
right, I'm just going to pop off again. I'll be back in 5 minutes or so, alright? Hope you're enjoying yourself. Thanks for tuning in. Chat amongst yourselves in the chat box there, and put your comments in the comments box. I'll be back in a tick.
Julian's life really is in the hands of our government, and they need to do something about it. And the issue is that's coming into court, just so you understand it, it's not the appeal. It's not something that's going to ultimately make a decision about the merits of Julian's case to prevent the extradition. It's only leave to appeal. And they have a number of great grounds for it. And that is
that the original court failed to really consider that this is a political prosecution. And there's a great argument for it, because the US government hasn't charged any of the other editors of the newspapers that published it, the Wall Street Journal, the Guardian, Der Spiegel, and the others. If they charged everybody, you say, well, I mean, they've treated all of the people they're accusing equally. In this case, they haven't. They've singled out one person, one organisation, and they just figure that they can get away with that. That is just simply not acceptable. And so the extradition treaty between the UK and the US bans extradition for political purposes, and clearly this is a political purpose. So it could be refused by the courts, or the UK government could actually refuse it on those grounds. But if Julian gets through the argument the next 2 days, it's only whether or not he's got leave to appeal. If he fails, then that's the end of his appeals in the UK. And this is the big concern you've been reading about, because you all know that he within days could be shipped to the US. And Julian, it's very clear from the medical reports and all the information we have that if that happens to him, he likely to commit suicide rather than go there, because he is so concerned about it. And his paranoia, I think, is quite justified considering what the US has done in other cases. Just think of the numbers of people who are still in Guantanamo Bay. They still have 30 people in Guantanamo Bay who have never been found guilty of any crime. So they've been there for 15 years now. Some of them have been tortured for years on end. And so we don't want Julian.
Wir stehen hier vor dem Court of Justice nach der Auftaktkundgebung, nachdem jetzt Stella mit anderen, die einen Platz haben, in den Court hineingegangen ist. Und hier draußen warten wir aufgrund von Schildern, die man hier sieht. Beep your horn wird, wenn auch nicht immer, gebucht als Solidarität. Und es rufen viele, aber natürlich nicht alle.
No, not to get down the road to buy.
My sense is that this is driven by the CIA,
run through this again and move back outside the court.
And that they have made it very clear to the executive that they want to make Julian pay. And that is why there's no daylight between Biden and Trump on the extradition. I mean, there's a deep animus within the Democratic Party towards Julian because of the publication of the so-called Podesta emails. This was Hillary Clinton's campaign chair, and DNC emails. I mean, that, of course, only raised my admiration for Julian. Because, like all journalists, he's nonpartisan. His target was power, which is exactly what our job is. So, having dealt for 20 years overseas with the CIA, I mean, you have to know who these people are. Their business is coups and assassinations and black propaganda and blackmail, and that's what they do. That's their business. They're vicious people. They're killers, especially after 9/11. There was a lot of whatever restraints there were on the CIA were lifted after 9/11, and they went right back to carrying out the kinds of assassinations that they were called out for in the 70s by the Church Committee in the Senate and the Pike Committee in the House. So I see the engine being the U.S. intelligence community. The U.S. intelligence, the CIA in particular, is just an overglorified paramilitary organization.
Hanks,
it has its own
half-faced Hillary and fucking
everything.
Oak Fry Winfrey.
Given the character of the CIA, and given the fact that
where's Cappy?
they're a state within a state, in essence, that no one in Congress, no one
drip,
in the executive
Remember Frazzle
wants
Drip?
to confront them.
And fucking Hillary's face removal and all that shit. yeah, that's all from this crap.
That doesn't, we fight as
the
hard as
world
we can.
knows about fucking who Epstein
not terribly
and all the fucking videos and pictures and fucking gross fucking things. Yeah, well, the world knows now, and
if Biden had any political sense,
fucking, what do you reckon Biden's fucking there doing, eh?
Billions of
Do you reckon he's
dollars
got a cowboy mask
Israel
on and a fucking gun? Yeah, wonder what he's into, yeah?
So,
hey, little girl.
I don't
wonder
think
what Biden's into,
I
eh?
mean, it's always already very precarious, and there are many polls that put Trump ahead, not by much.
I reckon he'll just be fucking taken out for a little walk.
Biden's
what
I
is
don't
it,
think Biden's all
Navalny?
there. He was fairly intellectually limited before he became president. That's clearly only
Intellectually limited, you mean
his inner circle, Blinken on the Middle East, for instance, Blinken, Sullivan, McGurk, these are utter incompetents who don't know what they're doing. They've always been huge pawns of the intelligence and military establishment. I mean, Biden, remember, was calling for an invasion of Iraq 5 years before we invaded Iraq.
You remember that?
And Blinken is the same.
Yeah, don't forget,
McGurk,
Biden was in Ukraine in 1972. Imagine how fucking virile he must have been then with the young girls, eh?
All the Israeli hostages were released. I mean, that's where these people are coming from. And it is counterproductive. I mean, we've eviscerated our standing in the Middle East and probably the entire global South over this because of the hypocrisy. We are. You look at the vote at the UN. I think there were 10 countries that voted against the ceasefire, 2 of which were Israel and the United States. I mean, we have turned ourselves into pariahs. But that is kind of typical of the end of empire. That myopia, that obtuseness, that inability to. I mean, the problem with late empire, and this was true in Rome and everywhere else, is that they're reduced finally to a situation where they speak to the rest of the world almost exclusively through the language of violence.
Yep.
And that violence is utopian.
See where it's going, and these are people
in the
who
sense
know
that they
where
think
we are.
by using that violence, they're going to regain a lost hegemony.
Yeah.
In fact, of course, it only makes them worse and worse and worse.
I mean, remember, ourselves, or we're going to let it
Gaza,
go
we
today
spent 2 decades in the Middle East in just perpetrating one military fiasco after another, whether that was in Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, or anywhere else. So I do think that it won't help Biden. But from my read of the Biden administration, they may still do it. The Gaza thing has really hurt Biden. And not only among the Arab American community, but among the youth, including, of course, young Jews. I mean, they're not buying this stuff. So there is a kind of self-destructive quality to the mandarins of late empire. And while it might make sense, I think it does make sense in an election year not to extradite Julian, that doesn't mean they won't do it.
My name is Philip. I've come here with a friend from Austria because it is a crucial day, it's crucial 2 days. What's been negotiated here is not only about our right to know, but also about our duty to know about the wrongdoings of governments, about the wrongdoings that are made in the name of our people. I think our governments they have a duty, or we the people have the right to know and the duty to know about what is being made in the name of us. With our taxes, we are entitled to know about the wars that are made in our names with our money, and so we can decide whether we agree upon that or not. And this is why this is so important here. and I'm very glad that there are so many people from all over Europe and all over the world that gather here today. Yeah, thanks a lot. All the best, solidarity.
Hello, London. Here's Heike from Free Assange Ulm speaking. We are going to have a vigil today at 4 p.m. for Julian Assange, and we are having an Ithaca screening at 7:30 p.m. in the town where Albert Einstein is born, in front of the highest church tower of the world. Why are we doing this? Because we're believing in a free and a just society. And we know there's absolutely no possibility to have a free and a just society with Julian in jail. Free Julian Assange.
Back at the London Royal Court of Justice. I'm here with Alan Rusbridger, former editor of The Guardian. Alan worked in the same documents that Julian is being charged under the espionage in the United States, and we're gonna hear a little bit about his work with Julian and what he saw in the court this evening. Hi, Alan. Nice to see you. You uncovered war crimes on the documents that you worked with Julian. What is the precedent being set with this case and the dangers for press freedom?
Well, I think the most dangerous thing is they're using the Espionage Act, and I don't think anybody seriously believes that what Julian was doing in 2010, 2011 was espionage. It was uncomfortable for the state. He revealed undoubtedly state secrets, but it wasn't espionage. And so the danger for journalists is that a precedent has been set that you can prosecute people who are doing journalistic acts and call it espionage. And that's why people should care about this case.
When you were having these discussions with your team who's investigating these documents, of course there was also lawyers involved.
Yeah,
you have to weigh in the risks of what the repercussions could be legally. Could this case bring more lawyers and maybe make editors less likely to report on future Chelsea Manning whistleblowers, something of the sort?
Well, after the Edward Snowden case, which we also did, governments have moved to make it much more difficult for journalists to write about what they would like to keep secret. And I think that's becoming very dangerous. So they're trying to prosecute journalists even
why we buy one at a time, don't make our own.
And
they're also trying to restrict single items when we know we're going to be buying them for 50 bucks in the year.
So this is a crime for which there is no defence, and that should worry all journalists.
Do you think that after Julian, would the government be able to come after the Guardian journalists who reported on the same documents?
I think the reality is that they wouldn't dare, because they'd have to go for the New York Times and Der Spiegel and the other big newspapers that did it. So I can't see it happening, but theoretically, once you've established the principle that you can start using espionage and official secrecy acts, then there's no reason why they shouldn't. I don't think they would, but there's no reason why they shouldn't.
What did you see today inside the court?
Well, today was quite a technical argument because we're now at the appeals stage, so it's really matters of law. But essentially they're saying that because espionage is a political act, that's excluded from any kind of extradition treaty. Of course, they're also saying that what he did wasn't espionage, and they're also saying that it's disproportionate. He might serve 35 to 40 years, and that's disproportionate.
Thank you very much, Alan. Again, Alan Rusbridger, former editor of The Guardian. We'll keep you updated as things develop. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. He does a good job, doesn't he? He's a good journalist there. He's doing his job well. Thanks very much to him. Berlin fucking, what's it? Dudar Gate, isn't it? My name's Sonia. We're in Berlin in front of the US Embassy. Speeches on upheld from Amnesty International and Reporters Without Borders.
Seine Plattform WikiLeaks, ein nichtstaatlicher, feindlicher Geheimdienst.
Ja, danke.
My name is John Mearsheimer, and
Hello,
I
John.
teach at the University of Chicago.
Hello, dude.
My area of expertise is international relations.
Ooh.
I'd like to say a few words today about the Julian Assange case.
Everybody.
A determination will soon be made by the British High Court on whether to extradite Assange to the United States, where he has been indicted by the American government and will be put on trial.
Damn.
I am asking the court not to extradite him and instead to set him free.
Set him free.
I believe this is a straightforward case. Let me explain.
Let me free.
For starters, the case involves a wide variety of classified documents that Chelsea Manning, who was a government employee, leaked to Julian Assange, a journalist who ran WikiLeaks, a famous website that publishes classified and private documents that were not supposed to see the light of day. Manning was caught and punished because she was a government employee and she broke the law by leaking material that was classified to Assange.
There you go.
But Assange is a journalist and he did not break the law, as it is commonplace for journalists to publish classified information that is passed on to them by government insiders.
There we go.
If journalists in the United States were sent to jail for publishing classified material, the jails would be filled with many of America's most famous reporters from newspapers like the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal.
Let me just check them up.
But of course, that hardly ever happens, and hardly anybody ever goes to jail.
We're currently up to date.
Why is this the case? What is the reason for this situation? Governments of every type, and this includes liberal democracies like the United States and Britain,
Yeah, don't worry, love will get her.
sometimes go to great lengths to hide their actions or their policies from public view,
Yeah.
which makes it almost impossible for the public to evaluate and criticize their behavior.
There we go.
Given that governments sometimes act foolishly, even
Idiots,
recklessly,
don't they? Eh?
this is not a good situation.
It ain't.
Thus, a rich tradition has developed over time in the United States where insiders leak information about classified policies to journalists who publicize the information so that the public can evaluate it and push back hard against misguided policies. The most famous case that illustrates this phenomenon involves the famous Pentagon Papers, which were a multi-volume study of the American decision to enter the war in Vietnam in the 1964-65 period, and then escalated in subsequent years.
Yeah, you know that fucking turned
Daniel
out, didn't it, eh?
Ellsberg,
What
who
a
was an
fucking mess.
insider, and had access to classified material, leaked the papers in 1971 to the New York Times, which subsequently published them. The story in those documents was starkly at odds with what the Johnson administration had been telling the American people about U.S. policy in Vietnam. By most accounts at the time, and certainly since then, both Ellsberg and the New York Times performed an important public service. They exposed a bankrupt policy that underpinned a war that the U.S. could not win. Ellsberg did not go to jail, despite leaking classified information, although it did appear at the time that he might be sent to jail. Certainly, nobody at the New York Times went to jail because, again, journalists don't go to jail for publishing classified information in the United States. It is very important to remember that in the case of Julian Assange, he is not the equivalent of Ellsberg because he was not an insider who leaked the information. Chelsea Manning was the insider. Assange was the equivalent of the New York Times, and thus he should not be extradited so he can be put on trial in the United States. Unsurprisingly, government leaders do not like leaks unless they do the leaking, which they frequently do. Thus, they are powerfully inclined to punish those who do leak, and they even try on occasion to punish the journalists who publish the leaked material, as is the case with Assange. It is fair game for governments to go after leakers, but it is not acceptable for governments to go after journalists. Indeed, it would directly undermine freedom of the press, which is essential for monitoring governments and holding them accountable when they pursue misguided policies. In fact, one of the main reasons that the U.S. government is so determined to put Assange behind bars is that he has exposed malfeasance by U.S. policymakers. In my opinion, that is all for the good and essential for making a liberal democracy like the United States work as efficiently and wisely as possible. Two final points. First, it is important to emphasize that nobody was hurt because of the documents that Assange published. Nobody's life was put in danger because of what he posted on WikiLeaks, and certainly nobody was killed. For sure, the misguided actions of many U.S. policymakers were exposed
a crime
because of what
victim,
Assange
right?
did.
And there's no victim.
But that, in my opinion, is all for the good. Second, Assange has already paid a huge price for his actions. He has effectively been in prison for years. Sending him to the United States, where he is likely to be convicted and sentenced to a long jail term, would be a case of cruel and unusual punishment. For all these reasons, I respectfully ask the British High Court not to extradite Assange to the United States. In my opinion, that would clearly be the right decision. Thank you.
I'll say fair dues to that chap then, isn't it, eh? Yeah, fair dues to that chap. Yeah, got breaking news there, breaking news from the AssangeDefense.org. Good go over there, check it out. Thanks to the fellas, ladies and gentlemen there, presenting it, all the rest of it. Here we got here, some people coming out of the... Excusez-moi. Where am I? Back in the room. There we go. La 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 la. Bum bum ba da ba da ba dum. Yeah, come on, kick it up a bit. Yeah, if I can make myself a band. Can I get a rhythm going? Yeah, counting in fours, right? 4, 4, 4, 4. Yeah? It's 16 bars of the Wu-Tang Clan. 16 bars of the Wu-Tang Clan. Fucking hell. Yeah, listen to the Wu-Tang Clan in a while. Go back and listen to some of it. Yeah, fucking totally relevant. Fucking hell, was like 17 years old. That fucking one I was listening to the other day. Like every fucking lyric in it was fucking completely relevant to what the fuck is going on today. Yeah, they don't make shit like they used to today. Yeah. Who's on the triangle? Yeah. Someone on the cymbal. Yeah, you got a pair of fucking. Can I play with your maracas? See, there's flirting going on in the crowd, you see. Yeah, fucking people eyeball each other like, oh, hello, you alright? Like that. Yeah. Free Assange. No, free Assange. Go on, fella, you'll make it there, mate. That's it. Don't bump into anyone. Don't wear your bag like you'll get robbed. Yeah? You'll get robbed. Yeah, see that geezer there with a phone? Yeah, you've got to be careful with it. Don't like nobody getting too close to me, London, especially my bag on me. Where I'm from. Fucking well, I can see it, you know what I mean? That fella that stopped there and spoke then, eh? Who was that? What time is it? 4 o'clock or something, that lady said, didn't she? 4 o'clock? Yeah, these people coming out, people coming out there. More lawyers. Everybody going to lunch, right? Everybody going to lunch. It's like, fuck the crowd, mate, I'm going to fucking get my fucking food. She's like, I only want a sandwich. Yeah, I just want a sandwich. Yeah? These are all the backroom stuff, right? Diddly-dee. Go on, matey. Whistle, pussy, blow. Whistle, pussy, blow. Whistle, pussy, blow. Whistle, pussy. Yeah, funny as fuck. Yeah, good love. It's warm in the crowd though, isn't it? Hey, you're getting a crowd of people, it's not so cold, yeah? Get fucking achy legs though, you always wish you had a chair, didn't you? One of them times you go, oh, I wish I bought that umbrella stool that goes in the mud and you can sit in it. These are the lawyers' fucking secretaries. They're doing a very good job of blocking the whole building up, aren't they, really? Not that we're inciting anything. Especially everyone's fucked off to lunch and they fucking rock it up. They'll be fucked all, aren't they? Like I say, you don't want to be going doing things like that. date today. We'll just have a little look, yeah? The date 20022024. Yeah. You added the numbers up, it adds up to 10. That's a 1 and a 0. Yeah, we're living in the digital age, Assange. Here we are, aren't we? Yeah. What's happening, says Julian Assange as well. Look at that, who's covering it? We got Consortium News covering it. We got Crux covering it. We got ABC News Australia covering it. These live tabs. These aren't, not all of them live. Hindustan Times covering it live. What else we got? Stella Assange, is that what we're linked up to? I think we're linked up to that one, yeah. Yeah, 383 people watching there, so don't forget, even if you're clicking enjoying the show for free, go over there, like, click, subscribe to that thing. You hear the latest details from them, and then come in and chat here, right? If we've got a video over there where they crash, or, you know, we'll be having who else we got covering it?
So I was just wondering, what made you come down today to support Julian Assange?
I take the flight yesterday from Italy just because I think Julian Assange is the proof that we are not living in a real democracy, that he should be free and that he shouldn't be in jail for 12 years. I mean, I think the most normal thing in the world to say people war crimes, because people have to know it. Otherwise, we are not living in a democracy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think a lot of people your age are aware of Julian Assange, or do you think that's growing?
I think that media are trying to not to let people know this thing, and that's why I tried in my small I am trying to do, like with my shirts, I'm trying to let people know what is happening.
So you're an artist and you make the shirts?
No, I'm not an artist, but I work with a graphic designer, with one of my friend, and I print it.
Oh, I love it. And is there somewhere people can find your shirts?
Yeah, of course. Our name on Instagram is Nemico Pubblico, like Public Enemy in English. I think Julian Assange is the public enemy #1 for the West, for the Occidente.
Yes, and we definitely have to shine a light on that so we can get him free.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming along today. Free Julian Assange. Thank you.
We got the She's going to get
have some statements here at the stage.
Yay.
Want to make your way this way?
I'll thank the people over there at stellarassange.com. Don't forget, go over there, link, subscribe, share, fucking click the doodahs, ding the bells, and fucking tweets and X's and F's and all the rest of the things on Instagram. Yeah? Whistle, whistle, blow. Whistle, whistle, blow. What's it gonna say? What's what we're gonna do? Who's up first? Who's got a microphone? We go. There we go. Private director from England, yeah. Dodgy Git, this is Dodgy Git show, fucking, not exactly a number, because this is just a live recording, fucking, Julian Assange live from the High Court in London, by the extradition of Julian, a non-crime, he's doing his job. If he was very policeman, he'd be fucking told to go and carry on his fucking duties. He was reporting what he was fucking handling. Yeah, he had a duty of care to do what he did.
Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you for continuing to be here all morning. Christian Hobson now, from Chief Editor of WikiLeaks, is going to tell you his impression of what happened in the court this morning.
Here we go. It's a crock of shit. Thanks for coming, please.
There is now a break in the proceedings. I have to tell you that I was not able to observe what was going on inside. When I got inside this morning, I was not allowed into the main chamber. I was sent to an annex room with most of the reporters who were sitting there, not hearing a thing because the audio was constantly breaking. They were leaving the room. They were protesting. And if this is how you practice open justice, I don't have high faith in the court system here. It is absurd that journalists are not able to observe what is going on in the most important case for journalism in modern times. Absolutely absurd.
Damn right.
And the fact of the matter is, I was told inside the courtroom, the chambers here, that the court here decided to put this case in one of the smallest courtrooms they had in the building. So only a handful of individuals could observe.
It's a setup. They know
what is that? How on earth
play.
Is that possible with all the massive interest in the case? What are they trying to hide? Why are they toning down the access to this important proceedings? It is not the first time that we observed this. This has been going on in every proceedings we've had in the Julian Assange's case. There has been obstruction for observers to get in, to observe the proceedings. Parliamentarians traveling from abroad cannot get into the courtroom. NGOs have not been able to get in to observe what is going on. I'm not even sure that Amnesty International was able to get into the courtroom to observe what was going on. I believe that Rebecca Vincent from Reporters Without Borders was able to, and she has previously said that she has and Reporters Without Borders have been observing proceedings against journalists in countries around the world, and they have never experienced anything similar as they have experienced here in the UK court system. So what is all this about? Why is the system so obviously trying to keep the eyes away from what is going on inside here? Because of that, it is so important that all of you point a finger at the court and you tell them, we are watching you. The world is watching you. You cannot hide the travesty that has been going on against Julian Assange throughout all these years. There needs to be a change. There needs to be, in the end, justice. Justice for Julian Assange. Thank you so much for coming, because it's so important to have you outside here.
The way that carried
Bear
out
witness.
is a farce, right? It's a clown show.
Those of you who are journalists, one of your main job is to bear witness to injustice. If you cannot stop it, at least bear witness. And what you are witnessing here in the case of Julian Assange is one of the gravest injustices that we've seen in latter times. And it will mark the end of journalism if he is extradited. It will not be able to continue in the same manner as before. So what is at stake for you journalists is basically your existential platform. So you have to fight. It's not activism to fight for the right to practice journalism.
There you go.
And for all of you,
my right to say my counsel is shit.
This is about your right to know. It's not about the right for journalists to practice their job and have security.
Accountability,
the real reason why they need security is to be able to provide you the information, the truth. It's about your right to know. That's what's at stake here today.
The right to know, the duty of care to the people. Yeah. What
These proceedings will continue this afternoon.
Tell them till it's too late.
They will continue tomorrow. Please stay here. Please voice your anger. Please tell this court how you feel about this travesty.
I am.
And may I remind you that tomorrow, after the proceedings, we will march to Downing Street, and we will voice our opinion there. End this travesty. Free Julian Assange.
Yeah. Change policy. Yeah. Change policy. Yeah. Change policy. I'm just going to change the scrolling thing to the non-scrolling thing because it's doing my fucking melanin.
Thanks very much, Kristen. Well, I was in one of the courtrooms this morning, one of the overflow annexes to watch that trial. At one point, the court proceedings had to be stopped in the main courtroom simply because the audio feed to the annex was insufficient for the journalists and the other observers to hear what's going on. Now, that's not a question of justice. It's just a question of competence to allow observers. Justice that is blind, justice that is behind closed doors, justice which is secret is no justice at all.
Big up yourself.
Now we've seen speakers from around the world. There are people here from around the world to support Julian Assange.
Yes,
and it's a very great pleasure to introduce to you now Vincent Staffano from the sister organisation, the Assange Defence Campaign in the United States of America. Please give it up for Vincent Staffano.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, I am the National Organizing Director of Assange Defense in the United States, and I come to you today in shame.
God damn.
In shame for my country, which is persecuting a man whose only crime is sharing the truth
of the war crime. He's doing his job.
Misdemeanors and calumny of the United States government. He sits just 12 miles from here in Belmarsh Prison, but he is vastly closer to the American Gulag 4,500 miles from here in Guantanamo Bay, created by my country to sidestep the principles that we hold dear, that we loudly proclaim to the rest of the world. The presumption of innocence, the equality before the law, a prohibition on torture and inhumane treatment, all of which have been denied to Julian Assange.
Yep.
Now, I wish to address another individual who stands in the dock with Julian, who too will be prosecuted, who too will be denied justice. Who is that other unindicted co-conspirator? It is you. It is the people. It is your right to know that stands on trial in that courtroom. We cannot wait for the perverted British Jewish system or the perverted American government to provide us justice. Justice will only come when the voices of the people here and around the world are so loud that they can't ignore us any longer. Free Assange! Free Assange now! We will be here today. We will be here tomorrow. We will be here as long as the struggle continues until Julian Assange is free and reunited with his family. And should he choose to do so after his long ordeal, once again, inform, educate, and tell us what our governments wish to hide from us. Thank you all very much.
Big up yourself. Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
As I said before, there is barely a human rights or civil liberties organisation on the globe which is not saying that this extradition should be stopped. Every single one of them realises the peril to freedom of speech and a free press because of the way that this is now being conducted. And I am very glad now to welcome to the platform Alexis de Sueve from the International Federation of Human Rights.
Thank you. Hello to all of you.
I'm
Alexis de Suave, lawyer at the Brussels Bar and Vice President of the FIDH, the International Federation for Human Rights.
Hello, fella.
The FIDH, it's 188 human rights organizations around the world. And we came to London today and tomorrow to support Julian Assange. Why? Because the case of Julian Assange is a human rights case. It's about our civil liberties, about our fundamental freedoms. It's, of course, press freedom, but more generally, freedom of expression. And without freedom of expression, we have no democracy anymore. And that's why we are all here today in front of the Royal Court of Justice to support Julian Assange. All the journalists in the world, and a lot of them are here today, but a lot are absent. I really don't understand why they're not supporting more their colleague, Julian Assange. This morning, I had a live interview on the radio, and the third question of the journalist, it was a Belgian journalist, was, yes, but Julian Assange has put the life of Americans in danger, and Julian Assange, blah, 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 blah. And I answered them, why this question comes from you, because that is what the United States are defending in court. Why are you, as journalists, repeating the arguments of the CIA? That should not be your job. And so, we must all be aware that our presence here, it's for the human rights, it's for the civil liberties, it's for the freedom of expression, and that you cannot be prosecuted by exposing state crimes, crimes against humanity, war crimes committed by states like the United States, and be prosecuted for that. The question is, if Julian Assange is extradited to the United States, who will dare to be a whistleblower? Because either you're prosecuted, either the journalist who you give the information to will be prosecuted, and even if he's in another country, he risks to be extradited to a foreign country and faces lifelong prison sentence, 175 years or even more. And so it's our democracy that's in danger. We have to protect the investigation journalism. We have to protect the whistleblowers for our democracy, for human rights, for our fundamental freedoms. Thank you very much.
Big up yourself. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, thanks for joining me, those who are here. Yeah, chat's there.
And now, Stella Assange is going to give you her impressions of what happened in the court this morning.
Okay, thank you very much, fella. Thanks for telling us that. Here she comes, here she comes. There's Stella Assange. Come on, darling. Come on, darling. Tell us what a fucking clown show it was. Tell us what a fucking clown show it was, man. Hey, the old circus.
I just want to speak a little bit to you because it's only a handful of us inside the room that actually can follow the proceedings. So I wanted to tell you about what was going on in there. We opened and we talked about Julian's political opinions and his political motivations. And they are clear and they're unchallenged, which is to expose state criminality.
Yep.
And what happens when you expose state criminality?
They don't like it.
The United States has taken a politically motivated prosecution against a journalist because he exposed them committing crimes. And so what's going on inside this courtroom is to determine how the extent of the cover-up. How is this court going to deal with this case? We heard that the case was only brought after the United States said that it would do anything to prevent the International Criminal Court from examining an investigation into U.S. activities in Afghanistan. And of course, WikiLeaks evidence in the publication that Julian's indicted over are part of that case. WikiLeaks has been used as evidence in the European Court of Human Rights and other foreign courts to expose state criminality. The United States is abusing its legal system in order to hound and prosecute and intimidate all of you.
No chance, pal. Fucking beyond that.
What's at stake is the ability to publish the truth and expose
you got your
crimes when they're committed by states.
Mate. Been listening and playing a game. All right. What are you playing? You're playing Tiddlywinks? Yeah. Don't pull it too hard.
The outcome of this hearing today
Hello, fella.
will make it clear the extent of the cover-up. The only fair... I shouldn't even talk about fairness at this stage, because the country that's trying to extradite him plotted to murder him. What are we even entertaining in these courts? How can any...
Oh, cool. Okay. Not played that one.
How can you even entertain this hearing, knowing what we know?
Thanks for joining me, though.
It's all on the public record. And yet it continues. It's only a handful of us in that room, but you know what the stakes are. You understand what this is about.
You can't even be trusted.
It's about you, it's about us, it's about the public's right to know. It's about the right to be able to speak freely without being put in prison and hounded and terrorized by the state.
Yeah, that's it. You've been terrorised by the states. Knock, knock, knock. We're from the government and we're here to help. Alright, are you really? Yeah, bollocks are you? Fucking talk about fucking taking an opinion. Fucking, alright.
Thank you all for staying.
Well,
thank you all for listening. Please do stay this afternoon. Please do come back and hear what will be happening in the courts. We'll be reporting back from this stage about 4:30 this afternoon. Please do stay around. Do continue to protest. Please come back tomorrow and be ready when the court hearing finally ends tomorrow afternoon to march from here to Downing Street.
There we go.
We are the last line of defence for Julian Assange. We are the last line of defence in the most important free speech trial this century. And remember what it was that the New York Times said back at the time of the Iraq War, that there are two superpowers in the world. One is the United States, and the other is world public opinion. We are today the representatives of that opinion on the streets of London. Please make sure you stay and fight and march tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Well, what's he say? To come back at 4:30, is it? Right, now some interviews. We're going to do some interviews for us. Have a little chinwag with a few people who's in the... We're going to do that again. Oh no, there's conflicting chanting starting. Will one side give up and join the other side? Well, we'll see what's coming. Everybody's meandering about there. Yeah, he said 4:30. Should we have some lunch? Should we do some lunch? I don't know. We could do some lunch and come back at 4, couldn't we? Yeah. We'll see who comes up next. They say I like interviews. They chat with people in the street. Like,
I'm going to ask you the same question
Here
I
we
asked
go.
everyone else today so
There you
far.
go. Have a little chinwag with the fella.
It's a simple question. Why are you here?
Well, I'm here to support freedom and justice and Julian. I mean, it is quite outrageous that this man, who's done absolutely nothing wrong, has been persecuted for many, many years, over 15 years, 5 of those in Belmarsh prison. I had the opportunity to visit Julian last September in Belmarsh, and it beggars belief. My emotions at the moment are between sadness and anger that this man, who's not been charged with anything, not done anything wrong, has been persecuted in the manner that he has. And it's shameful that the British media hasn't covered this more, because this is about freedom of speech.
They're refusing
and
to.
It is deeply, deeply worrying that the British government are complicit with the Americans, the poodles of America. And of course, what this is really all about is the American establishment, the global establishment, making it clear that they will not be accountable for anything they do. As far as America are concerned, the globe belongs to them. They will roam around it and do whatever they like, criminal behavior, and they're effectively saying nobody has the right to challenge us or to hold us to account. And that's why they've persecuted Julian for so long. It's to send a message to everybody else, to other investigative journalists, that if they believe for 1 second they should get involved in looking for things, then think again. So
it's about making an example of Julian.
It's very much about an example. And, you know, Julian is supported by literally millions of people throughout the world. And yet, of course, the establishment are deaf to those voices asking for justice and fairness. So I've been supporting this campaign for a very, very long time, and we just have to keep fighting and just keep hoping and believing that justice will prevail.
If Julian gets extradited tomorrow, or the court doesn't go our way, is that the end of the struggle? Or?
Well, no, it can't be, because obviously if he does get extradited, we all know that in America he won't get a fair trial. He'll be thrown into prison for the rest of his life, probably solitary confinement, harsh conditions, and we can't just forget about it. I've contacted my colleagues in the American trade union movement to try to make certain that we continue the fight if indeed it goes into that. But we have to keep fighting. We have to keep hoping that something will emerge that will allow justice to prevail.
Well, it's convincing the people that are in there and getting the word to them of the fucking narrative, you know, what's actually fucking been presented in front of them, what's the fucking evidence? Oh, Geezer got handed something. Oh, right, what did he do with it? Oh, he passed it on. Oh, why did he do that? Oh, it's his job. Oh, we ain't gonna fucking lock him up, are you? Yeah, you'd have to be a fucking idiot to do so. Where's the person that fucking leaked
to the
it?
Royal Courts of Justice
Anyway,
in
cheers,
London.
fella. Here we go, back to this
We've
dude.
now.
Hello.
I don't know if I should be speaking or not.
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
Am I on air?
Yeah, go
okay,
for
welcome
it.
back to the Royal Courts of Justice in London. This has been the first half of the extradition hearing for Julian Assange. I'm here with Matt Kennard, the editor of Declassified. Matt, what did you see this morning?
Well, firstly, it's worth noting that, as usual with the British justice system, it's very hard to access the case. So we were sat in the annex room,
there you go.
And you can barely hear the arguments of the Assange lawyers.
See all this technology, and
the
they
stuff I did hear, though, basically they were outlining grounds for appeal, which for me were just ironclad. There's no way you can. These substantive issues should be heard in the British court. Fitzgerald started with, and his arguments mainly revolved around the fact that this is clearly a political case, because by all definitions, even if you charge Assange with espionage, espionage is a political offence, and political offences are outlawed by Article 4 of the Anglo-American extradition treaty. So that was a long argument about that, mainly saying that the judge didn't consider various parts of that lady said in Barait's original ruling. She didn't delve into the political nature of the case. She said it wasn't relevant. So a court needs to hear those full arguments.
Yeah, whose opinion is it, if it's relevant or not? That's a sweeping statement
by David Davis, Tory MP, former minister, Brexit minister, who said, and he was one of the people who designed the US-UK extradition treaty, and he said that Baraitsa had misinterpreted that treaty. So, and then Summers, the second lawyer, his arguments revolved around the fact that this is a retaliation from the United States. It's obviously a political case, but it's also a retaliation and a bad faith use of the extradition treaty, because and he referenced particularly the Yahoo News article which came out in after the original Baraitsa ruling. So she could have, that information wasn't available, so that needs to be heard in a court, open court as well. And the Yahoo News article was 34 US officials saying that the Trump administration, senior levels of the CIA, but also the Trump administration, the political administration, the executive, had sketched plans to kill or kidnap Assange in London. So, in my opinion, any extradition case should be thrown out immediately when you have evidence that the country that wants to extradite this person has had plans for extrajudicial rendition and extrajudicial murder. That should be. I mean, it's amazing it hasn't been thrown out already, but it would be even more amazing if they won't even let those arguments be heard.
You try to do that to Rwanda.
There's no precedent for this. There's no precedent for extraditing a journalist to a third country. Britain's never done it for the crime of exposing war crimes and embarrassing the political leadership. So I thought that, to be honest, I thought that the lawyers did a very good job, particularly Summers, and it was super convincing. But I'll finish with this. We've done a lot of work at Declassified, and I think anyone who's looked at this case knows that it's a bit of a mistake to put any faith in the British justice system, because although you sit in that court and you listen to these arguments and you think you can't argue against these, or at least the 100% need to be heard in a democratic system which applies the rule of law, but we've seen time and time again that that's not how the British systems work. The justice system works in this case. I think that Assange is playing at a level which is above all the niceties we understand about the rule of law and due process and stuff. So I hope that this judge is independent and can evaluate the fact that we need to hear these arguments, but I don't hold up much hope. I just reiterate that this isn't a decision by these judges to free Assange. This is about, can they even hear an appeal on the original ruling? Yes. This is basic justice. Yeah. Basic justice, you should be able to appeal against the ruling that's going to send you to a what they call a concrete coffin in the desert for the rest of your life for the crime of doing journalism. So the stakes are extremely, extremely high, not only for journalism, but also for the reputation of the British justice system now and forever. Because if this happens, there's no way back.
Yeah,
You've
well done,
covered
fella.
the
Well said.
relationship between Assange and the intelligence community and the defense community. And also, you've covered the relationship that these judges that have ruled in several occasions have a relatively close relationship with these intelligence. Can you?
Well, I think the main the judge today, she has acted previously for MI6 as a client. The previous judge, Jonathan Swift, had acted for the British intelligence agencies and said actually his favourite clients were British intelligence because they put their evidence together very neatly. So there's obviously there's massive conflict of interest. I mean, the major conflict of interest that we discovered was Chief Justice Ian Burnett, who overruled Baraitsa's original ruling. So Baraitsa in late 2021 on narrow health grounds blocked the extradition, and then Chief Justice Ian Burnett overruled her decision and accepted US assurances about Assange's treatment when he was in the US. But Chief Justice Burnett, he's a 40-year good friend of the Tory minister who orchestrated Assange's arrest in 2019. His name's Sir Alan Duncan. And he, from 2016 to 2019, he was Minister for Latin America as part of the Cameron government and later Theresa May. Yeah, I mean, that is a clear conflict of interest. And actually, from what I've been told by people in the legal system, even if there's a hint of a conflict of interest, a judge recuses himself. But the evidence of that only came out because Alan Duncan published a memoir in which he admitted that Burnett was his friend. He also gave the first evidence we have of the UK state involvement in the persecution of Assange, because we didn't even know that Operation Pelican existed before that book was published. Operation Pelican was a secret police operation to spring Assange from the embassy. And I'll just finish with this, the other thing that we discovered was that 15 UK government staff had been assigned to Operation Pelican across 3 different ministries. So huge state interference in a case which they should have nothing to do with. This was a legitimate application for asylum to avoid persecution, which we're now seeing. Asylum is a right enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. No government should be putting 15 of its own staff on an operation to get someone out of that legitimate asylum. So the case is riven with conflicts of interest, with irregularities. The fact is, even in Belmarsh Maximum Security Prison, never been charged with a violent offence. He's only been found guilty of a bail violation. Why is he in a maximum security prison? Yeah. Paedophiles and terrorists and rapists. It's ridiculous. So the state is heavily involved in this case.
Imagine what you'd be telling them. Imagine what you'd be telling them.
The British justice system is not independent, and that is a fundamental tenet of any democratic society, and we should all be worried.
Thank you very much, Matt. Revealing the ties between the intelligence community and the Assange case. Assange has been, the intelligence community has been the biggest lobby towards Julian imprisonment and silencing. We'll be back shortly. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Right, thanks ladies and gentlemen for joining me. I'm going to just nip off for a second. I'll need to have a drink. I'll be back in a sec. Do enjoy playing the game. I'll keep hope you've had some lunch, mate. Back in a bit.
We're back. We're joined by Anne. Anne, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name's Ann Wilcox. I'm from the Washington, D.C. Assange Group, D.C. Action for Assange, and we do a range of rallies outside the Department of Justice. We also have a monthly vigil outside the home of Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General, who really could, quash this whole extradition and stop the case if they chose to do so. So we do a lot of actions. We also do lobbying in the Congress to free Assange.
Awesome. Well, it's amazing to have you here with us. Thanks so much for stopping and spending a few minutes with us. Why is this case so important?
Right. Well, I came over to be part of the rallies and so forth, but this is really a case about press freedom. I mean, these are unusual charges. It's going to make it difficult for any journalist really to work around the world. Anything they report that a government doesn't want to have out, they could bring these espionage charges. I mean, Assange isn't even a U.S. citizen. He's being charged with, spying against the U.S. It's just really absurd. And it really goes against the war on whistleblowers, the war on truth. And the whole point about WikiLeaks was that they wanted people to have the information. They wanted the information to be out there so people could, make their own judgments, and this is a war on that.
100%. Do you think this is a dangerous precedent to set then for the future of independent journalism and the free press full stop?
Very much. We need to support Julian, and really the mainstream press should be doing the same thing. The New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Washington Post is owned by a multi-billionaire who also has contracts with the Pentagon for cloud services and so forth. So there's just all these corporate interlocking interests that are making it harder for people like Julian to be free and to work.
Well, speaking of the independent press, I declassified, the amazing guys from here in the UK, announced a report this morning that one of the judges actually has close ties with MI6.
Oh, yeah, right. That's not
It's exactly what you're describing going on inside the court as well.
Exactly. And if Julian comes back for trial in the U.S., he'll be at the Eastern District of Virginia, which is where the Pentagon is, the CIA. So the jury pool there is very much made up of national security, family members and others with connections to the national security industry. So he's not going to get a fair trial. Also, the information will be classified, so it's the truth is not going to come out.
Right. Do you feel like that what is actually at play here is a case of making an example of Julian? Because, as you say, the case itself is very much Kafkaesque, it's unfounded. He's not even charged with anything.
Right.
So, is this more about making an example to everyone else? From this point, this will not be tolerated.
Right. They're making Julian an exception. He stood up against these interests. He was proud of the fact that he wanted to put this information out there. They've decided to make him a scapegoat, and it must have a chilling effect on other journalists over the years. And so we just hope that he's paid a price already with almost a decade in confinement in the embassy and in prison, and he really needs to be over. He needs to be free.
100%. Well, amen to that. What do you think everyone watching can do to help? Because obviously not everybody can be here in person, but what can people who are watching the live stream if this is going out, and what can they do?
Yeah, well, they can contact their members of Congress if they're in the U.S. They can contact members of Parliament in other countries. Ask for them to pressure their governments, to free Assange. I know the Australian government has finally started to speak out, but the U.S. Government needs to speak out and quash the extradition. And members of Congress can bring some pressure to bear there. So that's one thing. And, sign petitions, stay informed, and just be an active citizen on this issue.
Brilliant. And thank you so much for your time. We'll let you get on with it.
Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
Been given an opportunity shortly here to speak before the wonderful crowd here in front of the Royal Court of Justice. And what I wish to tell people when I get my opportunity to speak is that Julian is not alone in that courtroom. We stand with him in the dock. We stand accused as well. And if he is found guilty, we will be found guilty as well. It will be our right to know, our right to a free press, our right to be informed, that will go down in this courtroom if he is extradited back to the United States. And it requires all of us, citizens, since our politicians and since our jurists refuse to do the right thing, we must raise our voices so loud that they will be enabled to not listen to us and free Assange.
Yay.
There's only one decision. US, UK.
with Adam live outside the Royal Court of Justice. As you can hear, something is kicking off. I just grabbed this gentleman who's got a lovely top on to ask him a few questions. So Adam, what brings you here today, man? Why are you here?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Adam.
I'm here today, obviously, to show my solidarity with Julian Assange. I came from Oxford. I was born in Prague. My father is Palestinian, my mother is Czech. And I couldn't miss this opportunity to go and show my solidarity with Julian because I am so outraged at the fact that he's the one who's in court. He's the one who's been imprisoned. He's the one who's been tortured. He's the one who's been persecuted. His name has been tarnished. They tried to assassinate, you know, his character. And in actual fact, the people that should be in prison, the people that should be shamed are Tony Blair, are George Bush, the people who are responsible for the massive atrocities that have been done and are continuing in Gaza today, in Rafah, in all of Palestine. And if we don't stand up for Julian, then we are setting a terrible precedent for us, and we will lose our ability to police and to really hold accountable the people that do these crimes in our names. And if we allow to do this, then we lose. So we cannot allow this to happen. And regardless of the outcome, we need to keep pushing them. And there's only one way, you know, there's only escalation after this. So free Julian Assange and end imperialism. Beautiful. Adam, thank you so much, man.
No! No! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange! Now! Free Julian Assange!
Please make up a song to sing, because repeating it's a bit much. What we got there? Right. They're back from lunch. How long do they have? 50 minutes. That's probably, he's fucking donning his fucking ginger well, isn't he, eh? Fucking good man. Eh? Good man. Yeah, big heart of love, there you go. Let's share the love, let's see. The dodgy git show. Fight fucking tyranny, innit, eh? Fight bullshit. That's it, get some nice photos stood on the steps. Back the tick, folks.
No extradition!
No extradition! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
No extradition is a classical tradition. Yeah? What else can we make up? I don't know, think of a song. Everybody make up a line like we're drawing a picture of like a funny body and we've got a fold of paper. Right? Yeah. Do it like that. Was there a Labour MP there, yeah, walking? I didn't see her. Definitely a fucking ginger dude. He's fucking, he is fucking looking smart. Eh? He's got matching suit and everything. Yeah. Who else? I'm looking. Oh, that one. Is she Labour?
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
She wants to be, yeah, see, she wants to be filmed being, oh, the one there with a fucking thing on. I think I see there, in the blue with the red heart, the flower thing, right? Who's that there? Oh, or is that ginger dude a fucking MP? That ginger dude, has he been put up in House in Commons?
They wouldn't let them do it from other countries, only in the UK. So they let access to journalists, international journalists, like usually, but they wouldn't let anybody else apart from if you're in the UK. So Frank Murray and everyone, they couldn't get access. Free Julian Assange! There they go.
Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange! Look at that guy. Look at his face. He'd have to be a young guy.
He looks at me.
Free Julian Assange!
Sorry, that's enough.
I'll ruin my voice.
Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian
He's a gag
Assange!
for sure, that guy. That guy. You on. Free Julian Assange!
How did they get in?
What do you mean?
Why are these people specifically going in?
They're probably legal people or journalists.
Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Lithuania originally, but live here for 16 years.
You live here? And what's brought you out today in front of the Royal Courts of Justice?
Because for me it's important the freedom of speech, and this person that did nothing wrong is actually just charged wrongly, so I don't think it's supposed to be even in the jail. So
Excellent. And have you been following this trial of Julian Assange for very long, or what sparked your interest?
yes, I think for quite long, yeah, after the beginning.
Oh,
yeah,
from 2010?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
And what do you think is Julian's biggest gift that he's given humanity so far?
Truth. That is really important to us, to know truth and to know in what kind of world we live in. And he is a brave man. So personally, me, I think he's supposed to have, I don't know, some medal or thanks for bravery, but not put in jail. So
yeah, it's not very good. Obviously, it's not very good what's happening, and I guess it's exposing our governments. And what do you think about the UK government and the UK judicial system?
We will see. Yeah.
Do you have much faith that we will get a good outcome from this?
I'm not sure, but yes, I have hope in my heart, and I hope we are all here together with our hearts together. We can make a difference.
I believe that too.
Yes.
I believe that the people together, we're very strong, so we have to be really engaged and try and get something done for Julian
Yes,
Assange.
it's true. That's why I'm here. I can to do something at least, because I don't know. I will be probably disappointed in all humanity if it's been extradited to UK.
I feel exactly, yeah. I think a lot of people feel exactly the same, because a lot of people don't believe that it's got this far. And we're all just waiting for something to happen.
It's true, because many people still afraid to speak the truth, and now after this, it's like it's more afraid than if they extradited him. So I don't know, it's really everything bad.
It will. It probably be the death of journalism as we know it if we're allowed to extradite our journalists for speaking truth to power.
Yeah, but this, I don't know, it's just for me, there's no, I don't know, I can't understand even why it's happened this way, because everyone can see clearly that he did nothing wrong. So
excellent. Thank you so much. And I love your sign. Did you design that?
Yes.
I love it. It's really nice.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Free Julian Assange.
Yes, free Julian Assange. Yes, and free speech.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we're joined by Anne from War Media. Anne, can you just tell the viewers of the live stream a little bit about yourself before I interrogate you with a few questions?
Certainly. My name's Amber King. I'm with Seattle for Assange and Roar Media.
Okay, so it's getting a little bit chaotic here at the moment, so we're blocking up the sidewalk. But Anne, why are you here today? What brings you here for this case specifically?
Well, to cover the appeal. Since it's the final appeal, you know, I've been to DC many times to protest and ask for Julian's release, and just really felt the need to come here to the final appeal and hopefully make a difference and cover it and make sure that they know that Americans care about this and we want him set free immediately.
100%, we totally agree with that. What does this case say? What precedent does the outcome of this case set for independent press moving forward in journalism?
Well, it sets everything for not only American actions overseas, the continued support of the war machine that continues to roll on worldwide, but also just about our amendment rights and that they're under attack. And the fact that we're attacking a journalist on foreign soil who has committed no crimes is atrocious, and anybody who has published anything from the Assange files and from WikiLeaks should be very concerned. And you know, America needs to stand up for its free speech and freedom of press, and not only at home but globally. And Assange is a poster child for that movement.
100%. What do you, if the decision tomorrow isn't the one that we want, what do you think will happen after that to Julian Assange? What's likely to happen?
I don't know. I don't think they want him on U.S. soil as much as they're trying to extradite him. Right now, you've got Hunter Biden is going to be on trial in the same area and Trump at the same time. That would be a chaotic nightmare that I don't think they can afford to. Right. Politically, during an election year, I think it's just a very, very poor look.
So what's your gut instinct telling you about how this is going to play out? What do you think is going to be the... I know it's impossible to say, but what do you feel?
I mean, if anything, I have hope that he will be released and at least allowed to go home or to another country that has offered him immunity.
Give me a second.
I don't think they'll extradite him, again, like I said, but if anything, they'll just delay and use more delay tactics so that he remains incarcerated.
Right, okay, that's some great points. As you can hear, there's a lot of beeping and noise. That's beeps of support. They're asking people to honk their horns if they support Julian, so it's a good thing, but I hope you can pick up the audio. Amber, before we let you go, we are live streaming this on Stella Assange's YouTube channel, so we're trying to end with a little bit of a message of hope and positivity. What can people around the world watching us right now, what can they do to help? They might feel powerless, they might feel this is a foregone conclusion. What can people do?
Keep talking about Julian Assange, exactly. Keep talking about WikiLeaks, about government secrets, protect whistleblowers around the world, protect journalists around the world, and work to end war in your country. Most importantly, I think, is to keep talking about the story of Julian and WikiLeaks and what it exposed and why it became such a hot button topic. Because if we're not allowed to report and cover these stories, the world never will know the truths and the atrocities being committed with our funds and our money. So that's the most important thing, is to be able to report on the truth. And when we see what's happening in Gaza, when we see what's happening in Africa, when we see what's happening in South America, and what's happening in the United States, we know that our press is not free, and that not only has it been corrupted by military and by corporate power and deep state government power. So we just have to keep, this has become a moment for independent journalism, and journalists, everybody needs to be a journalist nowadays to be able to know the truth and be able to report the truth.
Brilliant words. Abby King, thank you so much for giving us your time. It's great to speak with you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the way round.
Yes, going to get more footage now.
Get back to you.
Your name? I'm Corinne. Oh, excellent. And what? I am for Julian since 5 years now. I've been on the 2nd of May 2019, and I organized a group in France, big group on Facebook called Assange l'ultime combat. It means the last fight. Oh, that's amazing. And I have my platform on Substack, and I translate.
Right, everybody, you keep on watching. I'm going to pop off again for 5 minutes. So if you're enjoying the coverage, the numbers on Assange defence have dropped off. He's got 1,200 subscribers, he, she, they, 206 likes. So don't forget, we're thankful to them for the presentation that we're borrowing to enable more viewers to see the content, really. But yeah, if you can, go over to Assange Defence and click the like button, subscribe, and leave your comments in their chat boxes as well if you like. I'll keep this thing running. I'm just going to pop off for a few minutes, and I'll come back and continue. Not a lot's going to happen until 4 o'clock. So if you want to, go and have dinner or fucking do something else, I'm just going to leave this thing running because, well, why not? We'll do Dodgy Git Show longest in history, eh? Longest Dodgy Git Show in history. We're 2 hours and 50 minutes so far. I think that is a record. I think we have broken the record for our broadcasting capabilities today. So thank you for Assange for boosting the numbers of of people that are fucking going to be able to view any content in the big wide world. But yeah, I won't be long. Yeah, just chill out, relax. I'll put the sound back on. I'll press the live button, bring you back up to date. Don't forget, go over there to the .org and say thanks to all those people over there. Don't forget, we're on the Dodgy Git Show. Like and subscribe. I've got to play about my Dodgy Git Show symbol, sign, logo again later on. But that's okay for now, because you can see StellaAssange.com. So go over there, check that out. Yeah, I'll be back in a bit. I'll love you and leave you.
Even every day it's harder and harder because Macron is terrible. Yes, I am a yellow vest and I went everything. It was like cool sometimes.
Yes. And but what you said about you're a mother of 5. I'm also a mother, and this is why I got involved as well. Once they dragged Julian out of the Ecuadorian embassy, I thought I can't stand this any longer. If we don't stand up now, we're going to lose everything.
It's now or never.
Yeah, it's now or never.
I think Julian told them it's late. I think it's too late.
Yeah. Well, we'll still have hope. That's why we're
yes.
Absolutely. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So you still have hope. So I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
And I am the chief of the cell.
Oh, I love it. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Hirsch. I'm the National Communications Director for Progressive Democrats of America. Speaking as an individual, I'm an attorney, and when I went to law school, I took constitutional law. We learned about the First Amendment. The First Amendment talks about free speech, freedom of the press. And if you believe in that, you have to believe in free Assange.
Julian Assange is facing charges for doing what journalists do all the time, publishing materials provided by a source, materials which a powerful state would like to keep secret. Those charges against him in the United States, his possible extradition and his probable treatment in the US constitute all of that human rights violations and major threat to press freedom.
Hey, everybody, I'm Stephen Donziger. I'm a human rights lawyer in the United States of New York, and I'm really honored to speak to you today to urge the release of Julian Assange and the dropping of his extradition case. I know what persecution from the U.S. government is about. As a human rights lawyer, I represented indigenous peoples in Ecuador against Chevron. We won a big pollution judgment against the company, and then I got prosecuted by Chevron in U.S. courts and locked up for almost 3 years. I know what the U.S. government does when its interests are threatened in a serious way by serious people like Julian. People need to understand that the U.S. government is using Julian's case as a way to try to criminalize advocacy, as a way to try to punish truth tellers, as a way to try to intimidate people from taking on the structures of power that keep most people down. Julian needs to be let go. He needs to be able to return to his work as a journalist, as a publisher, as an activist, so the world can be a better place. The cruelty being visited upon Julian is unconscionable. And I again urge the Biden administration to drop the extradition case. Stop trying to detain Julian Assange. Stop trying to use his case and other cases, including mine, to try to criminalize advocacy and try to criminalize activism and try to intimidate those who take on the structures of power that really hurt people around the world. Julian, we are with you. The world knows what is happening. We are coming to help you. We are here, and hopefully you will be free in short order. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Garland Nixon. I am currently a journalist. I retired. Actually, I was in law enforcement for many, many years. I worked with the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force. I worked with the federal government, and I understand well how they work. It is critical that Julian Assange is freed, not just that we don't just work for his extradition. We work for his freedom, because the freedom of journalism and the ability of journalism to give proper information to our citizens is what is at risk here. The United States government is now claiming jurisdiction over the entire planet. They're claiming that Julian Assange was involved in journalism in another nation, and that they can claim that his journalism was a crime in a nation in which they have no jurisdiction. This is an extrajudicial act that should not be allowed anywhere in the world. This will give the United States the ability to go to all corners of the globe to grab anyone who pushes back against the warmongering, pushes back against the lies, pushes back against the attempts to overthrow governments and be involved in all kinds of malevolent actions, to grab these people, bring them to the United States, or bring them to a compliant vassal state and punish them through either extradition to the United States or simply leaving them in a compliant state until such time as they die. One of the certainly major issues here is to stop the extradition of Julian Assange, but let's not forget that Julian Assange is innocent of any crime. In fact, he should be viewed as a hero. He has actually exposed the criminal activity, the violence, and the murderous intent of some of the most powerful people on earth. And those people are now acting to basically to take his life, to create an example to any young people out here who would be motivated to embark on a similar journey in their life, to a person who may look at Julian Assange and the work that he's done and feel that it is critical for them to imitate that, to feel that it is critical for them to take the same journey. These people are being set up to live their lives in fear and to take another route because of the plight of Julian Assange. And what we have to demonstrate is that it's wrong, that we will not tolerate this, and we will not allow it to happen to anyone else. I think that we've got to get Julian Assange out, and Julian Assange should be hailed as a hero. I think that the tireless work of the people who are involved in the movement to free Assange should be rewarded, and they should all also be hailed as heroes. In the United States in particular, we have something that they don't have in many other countries, in Europe, in Canada, and that is a First Amendment, a right to free speech and to the freedom of the press, and that right is now being encroached upon by the most vicious, violent people on earth. That if Julian Assange is extradited to the United States, prosecuted under the Espionage Act, and ultimately convicted, that, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many other experts, will be the death of the First Amendment, will be the end of freedom of the press. And what we'll end up with is a dual system of justice for the press in our country. And of course, since the United States is claiming extrajudicial jurisdiction throughout the world for journalists everywhere, wherein the people who are members of the mainstream press, who do nothing more than act as megaphones for the ruling elite, will have the freedom to continue with their moves to support the powerful, and those of us who, be they actual publishers and journalists like Julian Assange, or simply YouTube hosts and really not as powerful professional journalists such as myself, will likely face the same plight. So I support Julian Assange, and I continue to work as best I can, to contribute as best I can to the movement that will preserve our rights here in the United States, that will preserve the rights of journalists worldwide, and that will work to free an innocent man who has been mistreated for many, many years and whose life is at stake, along with the lives of many other journalists around the world. Thank you very much for your contribution. And all who watch this, you should look at yourself and ask what you can do to help Julian Assange, whether it's contributing financially, if you have something that you can contribute to his defense, or if you have any type of journalistic ability, if you can do your podcast, if you can talk to friends, if you can hold up a sign at a rally, anything you do, the more people that contribute, the better we are able to get our message to the ruling elite, that the people out here will not tolerate journalism being killed, particularly in the metaphorical person of Julian Assange. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Seth Stern, the Advocacy Director at the Freedom of the Press Foundation. We've been talking about Julian Assange's prosecution for quite some time. And whenever we do, it's inevitable. Someone's going to say, well, this has nothing to do with press freedom. Julian Assange isn't a journalist. Some might respond to that by arguing over whether he is one or not. And to us, that's just a distraction. It really makes no difference because he's being prosecuted for basically the dictionary definition of investigative journalism. Obtaining information from a source, Chelsea Manning, talking to Chelsea Manning over encrypted channels, publishing the information she gave. There's no exception under the Espionage Act for journalists. Read it, you won't find one. Not a single one of the 17 Espionage Act charges that Assange is facing makes a distinction between journalists and non-journalists. So there's nothing in the law, if Assange is convicted, stopping future presidents from prosecuting journalists, whatever you call journalists, under the exact same theory.
Right, this dude's going to repeat himself, and we're going to go round in circles for approximately 2 hours. So I'm going to have a little mental break because I've had to turn all these lights off again. Yeah, to do this I need lights, so where am I? Am I trying to do that? Video, no, yeah, video, that's me. There we go, and then I need to go down a bit, and then we go transition over. And is it going to follow me? Yes, it is. There we go. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I suppose I'll bring myself back in the room. Yeah, he's going to repeat himself for 2 hours, right? I've lost the chat box off the bottom of the fucking screen because I threw it for some reason. Fucking brain fart on my fingers. He's got that section talking about that in an earlier part of this video. We've gone past 3 hours, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the show here. I'm going to start up again at about 4 o'clock, okay? I'll do 4 o'clock till, well, probably just before till 5, yeah? And try and capture the result of this, the conclusion of this fucking court case, which is dragging out like fuck. The amount of man hours and effort. And just imagine, just think of the amount of fuel that's been burnt for everybody to deal with this day. We just saw 100 bods walk out of the building, go across the street, spend 100 fucking quid each on fucking lunch, and fucking 50 minutes later stroll back again and straight back in. Yeah? Like those fucking guinea pigs on that Zootropolis film, innit? Sell them lollipops. Ding 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 ding. Off you go again. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed yourself. We've gone way over fucking 3 hours. This is the longest Dodgy Git show in the world so far. Yeah. We'll come back at 4 o'clock and try and do another one. Eh? If you want to listen to the interviews or all the rest of it, you can of course scroll back and watch it again. That's why we're doing this shit. It's like fucking an audio-visual diary of one's fucking contemplations. I hope you enjoyed yourself though. I'm Dodgy Git. It's been Dodgy Git Show, randomly made for fucking Julian Assange's fucking freedom fighters. Yeah, many of them out there. We all disagree on loads of other things, but we all fucking agree on this. Yeah, he was doing his job. He did what he fucking did, and any of us would have done the same. And if those judges are in that position, what the fuck would have they done? Anyway, I love you, and I'll leave you until 4 o'clock when we'll be back. It's an hour and a half, so go and get yourself some lunch. Have yourself a late lunch, yeah? Do whatever you need doing. You got enough time to fucking get a wash on, yeah? Get a washing machine fucking loading, fucking spin that up, chuck it back on the fucking thingy, and you'll be away again, won't you? Hey? You can watch Dodgy Git Show between fucking 4 or 5, and yeah, fucking catch us again later, eh? Love ya. See you later. Bye bye bye.